A burst of brilliant blue light heralded the arrival of the ultimate virtual reality game, promising an experience unlike any other. A majestic landscape of golden valleys and towering peaks stretched beneath a sky adorned with a vibrant sunset, heralding the opening of the chronolife, another world. A small, barefoot boy, clad in simple shorts and tank top, materialized amidst a verdant clearing, a single leafy branch clutched in his hand, his form shimmering with a strange, blue energy. A wide-eyed, block-headed character, radiating pure excitement, seemed to be experiencing the thrill of connecting to another world for the first time, a rosy glow surrounding him, as if highlighting the momentous occasion. A new player, armed with a simple stick, runs eagerly towards a bustling town square filled with powerful warriors and winged figures celebrating 100 million users. A band of adventurers, diverse in skill and appearance, charged into a fiery dungeon, battling monstrous lizard-like creatures with swords blazing and spells flying. A burst of energy radiated outwards, promising a new adventure. A new character has emerged, their presence announced with a dramatic flair. A vibrant, sun-drenched landscape stretched out, rolling green hills giving way to distant hazy mountains under a brilliant blue sky. Under a clear blue sky, a young man, King Jisiok, stood barefoot in a field of wild flowers, a shovel held firmly in his grasp, his expression resolute. His stats appeared, revealing him to be a beginner at level 1. Gazing at a breathtaking vista of rolling green hills beneath a vibrant blue sky, the traveler realized they had arrived on a new continent. A sense of wonder washed over them as they took in the unfamiliar landscape, whispering with awe, another world. Beneath a sky scattered with leaves, a young man's face, framed by dark hair, held a look of innocent curiosity. A pregnant pause hung in the air, marked by ellipses. Suddenly, his expression shifted, a determined glint in his eyes hinting at a stark contradiction about to be revealed. Gazing across a serene, yet strangely empty landscape, the lone figure wondered aloud about the absent crowds. Puzzled by the lack of activity, he questioned the whereabouts of the promised influx of new users. The young man in the tank top eyed the shovel he held with a perplexed expression, a silent question hanging in the air. He muttered in disbelief, recognizing the tool in his grasp. Gripping a shovel tightly, the character plunged it into the earth, grumbling internally about being given nothing but a digging tool for this new task. With a grunt of exertion and a sound effect that crackled with energy, the shovel bit deep into the soil, his thoughts echoing the frustration of starting a new adventure ill-equipped. With a grunt of exertion, the young man in simple clothes struck the ground with his shovel, unearthing a glowing, azure cube that pulsed with an otherworldly light. Stunned, his eyes widened in disbelief, a silent question hanging in the air. With a resounding asterisk thud asterisk, a hefty block of earth plummeted back into the hole from which it had been dug, the young digger watching, shovel still in hand, a look of surprise etched on his face. A wave of disbelief and astonishment washed over him, his jaw dropping in a comical gasp of surprise. With a grunt of effort, the young man heaved a block of earth from the freshly dug hole, the loose soil scattering around him. He paused, shovel in hand, surveying his work in the clearing. The same scene, viewed from a slightly wider perspective, reveals the serenity of the surrounding landscape, hinting at a hidden purpose behind his labors. A man with a troubled expression stared into the unknown, a sense of unease and bewilderment washing over his face as he wondered if he'd stumbled into the wrong game. Under a bright sky, a young boy with spiky dark hair, clad in simple shorts, vigorously dug a hole with a shovel, a block of earth beside him. He grunted as his shovel hit something hard, the metallic clang echoing in the otherwise quiet field. A close-up revealed the edge of his shovel pressed against a solid, rocky layer beneath the loose soil. With a grunt of exertion, the young man plunged his shovel into the earth, sending a cloud of dust and debris exploding outwards. With a dramatic gasp and wide eyes, the dark-haired young man reacted to the notification. Material acquired Dirt X1, a small block of dirt displayed proudly in a red notification box. Astonished, the disheveled young man in pajama shorts stared at his inventory screen and knew unexpected item resting amongst the pixels it had actually worked. The dark-haired boy, clad in a simple tank top, pondered a holographic display, a puzzled expression etched on his face as he considered the information presented. A young boy, clad only in shorts, sprinted across a grassy field, a shovel clutched in his hand, a curious thought bubbling in his mind. Could this newfound ability extend to other objects too? With a determined grunt, the barefoot boy leaped, shovel held high, striking a powerful blow against the towering tree trunk, sending chunks of bark flying. His eyes widened in astonishment as a notification popped up, announcing his acquisition of a single piece of wood. His eyes widened in stunned surprise as a notification flashed before him, announcing a new craftable item. A crafting menu appeared, displaying a simple wooden chair and prompting the player to combine wood to create it. Intrigued by the crafting interface, the young man with the shovel wondered if creating a chair could really be as simple as a single click. Stunned, he stared at the prompt, muttering in disbelief as his finger hovered over the yes button, a click echoing in the tense silence. A young man in simple clothes, shovel at his side, watched as a brilliant, icy light burst forth from the ground before him. The young man with spiky hair watched in stunned silence as a chair dissolved into glowing blue pixels before him, his shovel poised mid-swing. A newly crafted wooden chair materialized, gleaming proudly as the crafting process completed. Awestruck, the boy marveled at the simple wooden chair. He plopped down on the newly crafted seat, shovel still in hand, and burst into delighted laughter, thoroughly impressed with his handwork. A young boy, clutching a shovel, sat perched on a wooden chair in a grassy field, his laughter echoing through the air. His mirth faded slightly, a thoughtful expression replacing his wide grin as he continued to sit, shovel still in hand. The boy's amusement seemed to diminish further, his posture slumping slightly as if the weight of his boredom grew heavier with each passing moment. A melancholic sigh escaped the heavy-set man's lips as he confessed his loneliness. Bewildered, a young man sat amidst a serene, grassy landscape, his gaze lost in the vastness before him, questioning the reality he found himself in. He wondered aloud if he had somehow stumbled into the legendary chronolife. Puzzled, he recalled the game's advertised premise: a monster slaying, level-up RPG, a stark contrast to the peaceful scene unfolding before him. A notification popped up, announcing an increase in crafting skill level. The man, his face filling the frame, seemed momentarily puzzled by the sudden alert. A new message appeared informing him of his expanded crafting abilities. Lounging in a crude wooden chair, a bored young man lazily pointed at a floating game menu while a shovel rested across his lap, seemingly unfazed by the exasperated question echoing from an unseen speaker. A crafting menu appeared, displaying the available options for creation. A simple wooden chair, a sturdy wooden club, and a basic wooden sword were the initial craftable items, each requiring a single piece of wood. An intriguing "see more" button hinted at further crafting possibilities. A realization dawned on the man. Crafting a wooden chair had utilized his craft skill. Intrigued, he pondered the possibilities, his gaze fixed on a menu listing craftable items. His thoughts turned to potential weapons: a wooden club, a wooden sword. His expression hinted at growing excitement. Intrigued, the character questioned the possibility of crafting a siege catapult. A detailed schematic of the siege weapon appeared, listing the required materials: wood and stone. Amazed, the character wondered aloud if such a powerful device could truly be built. A young man's eyes widened in surprise, a soft "huh?" escaping his lips as he focused on something off-panel. He stammered in astonishment, completely taken aback by the unexpected sight before him. With a final, powerful strike, he brought the hammer down, a surge of blue energy erupting from the wooden cube beneath. A beat of silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by his ragged breath. He gripped a wooden staff, sweat beading on his brow, a single tear tracing a path down his cheek as he whispered, "I did it, double quotes with a mix of exhaustion and triumph." Triumphantly raising his shovel, the builder stood atop his newly completed blocky house, a satisfied grin stretching across his face as he proclaimed his success. A flush crept across his face, a single tear tracing a path through the blush, his eyes sparkling with a mischievous glee as he declared his enjoyment. A young boy, shovel in hand, surveyed his handiwork, a simple room with a bed, chair, and window, and though slightly rough around the edges, he seemed quite pleased with his first attempt at interior design. With a mischievous chuckle, the young man, still clutching his shovel, gleefully sprawled out on the newly crafted wooden bed, a contented sigh escaping his lips as he tested its comfort. Relaxed and content, the young man in a tank top rested with the shovel behind his head, sighing with satisfaction at the cozy feeling. Basking in the warm glow of the sunlit window, someone mused aloud, finding the unfamiliar space strangely more inviting than their own home. His eyes widened slightly, a flicker of something between surprise and resignation in their depths as he thought, "Well, I suppose that was inevitable." Dust settled over a quiet Korean street, the warm glow from apartment windows contrasting with the deepening twilight sky. A dimly lit kitchen counter held a stark tableau. Instant curry packets leaned against a worn rice cooker, a lone mug and spoon nearby, all watched over by a scattering of flies and handwritten notes. A hand carefully wrote in a notebook, amidst a clutter of papers and a Coca-Cola bottle. The scene shifted to a small, dimly lit room where a young man, dressed in a blue shirt, sat on the floor diligently working, a desk lamp illuminating his focused face. A young man lay sprawled on a simple cot in a rustic room, a shovel resting casually beside him, sunlight streaming through the window. A young man lying back stared upwards with wide, inquisitive eyes, a shovel held loosely in his hand. A luxurious 100-pound house boasts a spacious, sun-drenched living room. Zooming out, the impressive two-story structure is revealed, complete with a sprawling yard, pool, and patio furniture perfect for relaxation. Lying on the floor, the person brandished a shovel, with a determined glint in their eye, declaring their self-sufficiency in building and inhabiting their own creations. Lost in a tranquil slumber, a young man with dark hair rested peacefully, a soft smile gracing his lips as he dreamed of another world, a world that filled him with awe. A monstrous, shadowy figure with glowing eyes growled menacingly from a doorway, startling the young man who lay nearby. A ferocious lion bear, its mane bristling, emerged from a doorway, growling menacingly, radiating a palpable aura of danger. A monstrous figure loomed, its shadow falling upon a small boy clutching a shovel, who stared up in stunned terror as the creature roared. What is this monster? A monstrous beast, its eyes burning with a fiery intensity, unleashed a ferocious growl, its razor-sharp teeth bared in a terrifying display of primal rage. A ferocious, lion-like beast lunged forward, its powerful blows shattering the ground beneath it. A young boy wielding a shovel scrambled away, his face contorted in a scream of terror. A monstrous, furry creature lunged forward with a ferocious roar, sending a young man sprawling across the wooden floor, his question inside, echoing in the sudden silence. A massive, growling paw crushed a red crystal, leaving a trail of glittering dust on what was apparently someone's bed. This bastard, someone seethed, their voice dripping with venom as a shovel plunged downwards with a sickening thud. With a guttural yell, the warrior spun the staff, a blur of wood and red cloth, creating a vortex of motion that hummed with impending force. Gripping a shovel, the barefooted young man lunged forward, a vein throbbing in his temple, a sinister grin twisting his lips, and a chilling threat escaping his breath. You're dead. A monstrous, lion-like creature roared its fury. How dare you destroy it, as a young man bravely faced it, weapon in hand. The beast questioned his audacity, suggesting the destroyed object belonged to another. With a chilling grin and eyes blazing with fury, the dark-haired young man vowed destruction upon his unseen foe. With a ferocious grin and a blur of motion, he lunged, snarling, "You damn bear," as a powerful blow connected. A figure was flung from a building, a small object trailing behind them. The impact shook the ground, leaving a crater where the figure landed face first, a trickle of blood tracing a path from their nose. A figure lay prone on the grass, a small halo with wings drifting upwards, signaling their demise. The game abruptly declared character has died in bold red letters, a stark ending to their adventure. A shimmering blue light enveloped the young man with the shovel, a notification appearing above him, warning of experience point loss and imminent respawning in a safe area. Gripping a shovel, the young man with the shadowed face lamented his own weakness. Atop a grassy knoll, a boy with a shovel paused, a look of dawning realization spreading across his face as he exclaimed about his house. His sudden confusion twisted into panic as he desperately scanned the horizon, wondering aloud where his home had vanished to. A dilapidated structure, scarred by time and possibly conflict, stood amidst scattered debris, prompting a curious observer to wonder about its mysterious past. A confused "huh" hung in the air, followed by a desperate, anguished cry of "Nuwu," as something precious shattered into pieces on the floor. A scene of destruction met the eye, fragments of what appeared to be a red, ornate box scattered amongst splintered wood and dust. Amidst the wreckage of his painstakingly built home, the young boy clutched a broken piece of wood, tears streaming down his face, his cries echoing the devastation. He lamented the bear's needless destruction, questioning why the beast, having already taken his life, couldn't leave his hard work intact. A young boy gleefully built a towering structure of blocks, his laughter echoing. He leaned in, giving his creation a tender kiss, completely absorbed. Overcome with emotion, a now older version of the boy wept dramatically, his face filling the frame, the memory of his beloved childhood creation overwhelming him. He sat at a bar, reminiscing with a friend over drinks, still visibly distressed by the bittersweet nostalgia. Kneeling amidst scattered debris, the figure clutched a shovel, a flicker of uncertainty in their posture as they wondered if something lost would ever return. Consumed by a fiery rage, the young man gripped a shovel, the backdrop ablaze with an inferno of his fury. Vowing vengeance upon a damn bear, he seethed with an unspoken promise of retribution, his eyes burning with determination against the fiery backdrop. Silhouetted against a fiery sunset, a large, shaggy creature trekked across a barren landscape. Lowering his gaze, the beast spotted a small, cozy dwelling emitting a thin wisp of smoke in the golden light of a clearing. A monstrous bear, its eyes burning with a primal fury, bared its teeth in a terrifying snarl. A guttural growl rumbled from the beast's throat as it lunged forward, its massive paws slamming into the ground. A monstrous, lion-like beast roared ferociously, its mane bristling with primal rage as its claws slashed through the air. A menacing growl echoed through the debris-strewn room as a large, bear-like creature emerged from the shadows, its arms outstretched. The young man, silhouetted against the dim light, stood his ground, a staff held firmly in his grip, and calmly acknowledged the beast's arrival. A young man, perched atop a bizarre contraption resembling a tank made of wood and adorned with sharp stakes, casually declared his domain, a peculiar house filled with weaponry. The wild-haired figure before him, possibly an unexpected guest, reacted with startled confusion. His eyes widened in disbelief, a sharp bitch escaping his lips as he gripped a small, taped-up object, his hand trembling with a potent mix of fury and shock. The beast-like creature, radiating a menacing red aura, unleashed a ferocious roar that shook the very ground. A monstrous bear, eyes blazing with primal fury, let out a low, guttural growl, its hot breath visible in the frigid air. A monstrous, red-furred creature with a wild mane roared fiercely as it lunged, wooden stakes protruding from its body. The young man, witnessing the beast's relentless attack, acknowledged his opponent's tenacity with a hint of intrigue. A defiant "so what" hung in the air, followed by the image of a siege catapult ready to be unleashed. The catapult's massive stone projectile was poised to fly, its rough surface catching the light. A determined figure manned the catapult, seemingly unfazed by the shadowy figure whose back was turned to the reader, perhaps the one who had uttered the challenging words. A blinding flash of light erupted from the figure, sending wooden splinters flying outwards. A guttural cry of pain tore through the air from a monstrous, fanged face, its eyes wide with shock. With a triumphant roar, a hulking, reddish figure lunged downwards, proclaiming "got you" to a smaller figure far below. A young man, seemingly unfazed, looked upon a large, monstrous creature, wondering if it was truly dead. A strange, glowing, almost digital energy began to crackle around the creature's fur, hinting at something otherworldly. After successfully acquiring lion bear meat, hide, and bones, the young man, digging with a shovel, unearthed something peculiar, his surprised echoing the strange blue glow emanating from his find. A crafting menu displayed a lion bear helmet and armor, newly available to be combined from the recently acquired bear bone and hide. Triumphantly, the character exclaimed their success in obtaining the necessary materials from the slain beast. A curious player wondered aloud if defeating monsters yielded materials. He pointed at the game inventory screen, a look of dawning comprehension spreading across his face as he grasped the in-game mechanics. He confirmed his understanding with a satisfied nod. A lone figure, shovel in hand, stood in a desolate landscape, seemingly oblivious to the monstrous shadows closing in, a pensive thought about hunting echoing in his mind. The young man, clad in a simple tank top, gripped his shovel, his eyes widening in surprise as he muttered a confused "huh." A young man, shovel in hand, stared up in disbelief at the monstrous creatures looming over him, their menacing presence filling him with awe and terror. He wondered in horror what they were. A lone figure, seemingly a young boy, stood frozen in fear, surrounded by a circle of monstrous creatures with sharp teeth and glowing eyes. He stammered in disbelief, shocked by their sudden appearance. Overwhelmed, the young man stammered in disbelief, realizing he was outnumbered and clearly outmatched. Looming ominously against a crimson backdrop, a multitude of monstrous eyes stared down, their unsettling gaze fixated on their prey. His face contorted with a mixture of terror and awe, sweat beading on his brow as he processed the sheer unfairness of the situation. Cracks of energy spider-webbed across the menacing red sky, signaling an impending and inescapable doom. A monstrous creature, its jaws wide and filled with rows of sharp teeth, screeched as it lunged toward a young man who desperately swung a shovel, his terror echoing in a primal scream. A chilling message, "Character has died," flashed across a blood-red background, signaling a grim end. This marked the second death, a stark reminder of the brutal reality they faced. The man in the tank top, shovel still clutched in his hand, was flung back for a fourth time, a startled cry escaping his lips as a dark, furred mass engulfed him. A lone figure, wielding a shovel, stood defiantly against a monstrous beast with glowing red eyes, the 12th attempt at survival etched beneath him. Against a fiery red backdrop, monstrous figures loomed over a burning building, a small drone hovering almost unnoticed amidst the chaos, marking the 49th iteration of this devastating event. After his 108th demise, the young man, shovel in hand, stood amidst the debris-strewn wasteland, a sense of profound contemplation washing over him. He began to question the nature of his existence. A dark-haired young man in a tank top stared ahead with wide, unnervingly calm eyes, realizing with chilling certainty that someone was trying to kill him. Amidst the debris and dust, a question lingered: why was a perfectly good house destroyed? A screeching sound echoed through the air as the dark-haired young man, clad in a simple tank top, paused, his head tilted slightly, a look of weary resignation on his face as he lamented having to start over yet again. A horde of monstrous creatures, eyes glowing ominously, emerged from the shadows, their presence a chilling response to the unseen challenger's question, "Are you guys?" A lone figure, back to the reader, stood tensely gripping a shovel, his shadow stretching long and ominous before him, a silent question hanging in the air, doing this on purpose? His gaze hardened, a flicker of intense anger in his eyes, scars etching the tale of past battles across his face as he seethed with barely controlled rage. Gripping a worn wooden bat labeled labor, a determined hand tightened its hold, defying an unseen challenger with a steely question. Gripping a shovel tightly, a figure declared their unwavering resolve. With a wild grin and a darkly playful glint in his eyes, the young man in sleepwear taunted his unseen foe, daring them to make another attempt on his life. With a wild, manic grin, the dark-haired young man declared he would simply respawn, undeterred by whatever threat loomed. A monstrous, scaled foot with razor-sharp claws landed heavily on the cracked earth, the impact shaking the ground. A monstrous horde of nightmarish creatures surged forward, jaws agape and eyes blazing, their menacing forms casting long shadows under the blood-red sky. Under a fiery sunset, a towering city stood defiant, its central spire piercing the vibrant sky, while at its feet a horde of monstrous creatures with glowing red eyes gathered, their ominous presence a stark contrast to the majestic architecture. Against a fiery sunset, a towering, slender structure reached for the heavens, prompting an unseen voice to question in disbelief, "You're here." A grand, imposing building stood tall, a lone figure perched high atop a tower, silhouetted against a fiery sunset, seemed surprised by the arrival of a small group, questioning their meager numbers with an incredulous "Just you?" Lounging on a makeshift throne of brick and wielding a shovel like a scepter, the young man in casual clothes commanded someone to bring their boss, promising leniency in return. A dark, winged creature shrieked as it swooped through the air, drawing the attention of a young man with wide, startled eyes. A monstrous, winged creature swooped down, unleashing a deafening screech that tore through the air. A vibrant, electric green beam sliced through the air, accompanied by a sharp, metallic squeak as it met resistance, seemingly surprising its wielder. A menacing voice echoed a dark premonition as chaos erupted below, figures falling from the sky amidst the smoke of a fired cannon. Another voice, laced with exasperation, accused a group unseen of reigniting a conflict. The enthroned figure, draped in a patterned shawl, questioned the unseen visitor's hesitation, a hint of challenge in his tone. The perspective shifted to the fortress walls, bristling with cannons against a fiery sky, as the ruler's voice echoed, a provocative accusation of murderous intent hanging in the air. A chilling realization dawned, perhaps these monstrous figures with their gaping maws and glowing eyes were the ones being addressed. A sinister smirk played on his lips as his eyes narrowed, a predatory gleam in them, and he taunted his unseen opponent with a low, chilling scared. A horde of monstrous creatures, led by a minotaur-like beast, charged forward with ferocious roars and screeches, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. A monstrous creature unleashed a deafening screech as it charged forward, its multiple heads a blur of teeth and fury. A volley of vibrant green energy beams ripped through the air, aimed at the monstrous reptilian creatures swarming the battlefield. A voice echoed with playful curiosity, wondering if a wall was about to be broken. A powerful, spiky creature lunged forward, its momentum palpable. A young man with dark hair, seemingly pleased, observed the fiery chaos unfolding before him, a satisfied yet good job escaping his lips as monstrous figures writhed in the inferno. A colossal, spired vehicle, wreathed in roaring flames and arcane symbols, emerged from the inferno as a taunting voice urged their unseen opponent to greater efforts. A menacing pink creature, bathed in fiery light, let out a series of sharp squeaks amidst a chaotic backdrop of flames and shadows. The creature's piercing squeak echoed, growing louder and more frantic as it seemed to emerge from the darkness. A monstrous creature, scales shimmering green and gold, rose from the depths, its glowing eyes burning with fury, a silent roar escaping its gaping maw. The beast hissed, its voice echoing with contempt, accusing its unseen opponent of a foolish, fatal error, turning their back in the face of danger. A tiny, pink creature squeaked fearfully, dwarfed by the colossal legs of the monstrous treacherous, a creature whose danger level was ironically labeled GOAT. A monstrous, scaled foot slammed down with a screech, sending a spray of blood across the ground. Against a backdrop of fiery chaos, the dark-haired young man, his face set in grim determination, acknowledged the arrival of treacherous. He vowed to finally end the threat posed by his adversary. A shadowy figure loomed large, observing the fiery destruction of King Jisiok's kingdom with a cruel satisfaction, their words echoing the king's futile struggle against their overwhelming power. A menacing declaration echoed, "No matter how high or massive you build, nothing can withstand this asterisk," as a monstrous, scaled creature with glowing fangs lunged forward with terrifying force. The sheer power of the beast's attack was palpable, radiating outward in streaks of vibrant energy as the creature roared, its voice a promise of inevitable destruction. With a guttural roar, the monstrous creature, its scaled body glowing with ominous energy, unleashed a powerful attack. A dark, swirling breath, emanating from the beast, threatened imminent destruction. The creature's breath attack hurtled forward, an undeniable force of nature. The terrifying command attack reverberated, leaving no doubt about the beast's lethal intentions. A blinding beam of energy erupted from the lone figure amidst a raging inferno, shaking the very ground and sending debris flying. The monstrous creature roared, a sound of pure power, challenging an unseen opponent with a defiant "Is that so?" A moment of surprised silence hung in the air, punctuated by a confused "huh." The beast's glowing eye narrowed dangerously as a voice echoed, daring to say no matter the creature's size or might, it would be defied. With a dismissive "it's meaningless" before you? A colossal, mechanical figure loomed, its massive metal legs crushing the earth beneath. Accusatory words hung in the air as a colossal structure, intricate and gleaming, began to crumble, its ornate facade giving way to cascading debris. A foreboding sense of impending doom hung in the air as a voice declared they haven't met something. A massive, crumbling, mechanical structure, seemingly a giant robot or vehicle, plummeted from the sky, disintegrating midair with a deafening crunch. A reptilian creature, viewed from above, ascends a chasm, dwarfed by the massive, cracked earth above, as someone exclaims in astonishment at its sheer size. A reptilian creature, bathed in the ominous shadow of an unseen figure, unleashed a ferocious roar, its glowing eyes fixed on something beyond the panel's edge. A colossal, mechanized figure, its body a patchwork of metal and stone, loomed over the desolate landscape, a gleaming, metallic fist raised in a gesture of immense power. A colossal, intricate mechanical structure towered over the desolate, rocky landscape, inspiring awe and a lone, reptilian figure gazing up at it. A massive, metallic fist loomed over a small, reptilian creature. The creature, with glowing eyes, stared upwards in awe. Overwhelmed by the sheer scale, a silent thought, "That is big," echoed in the vastness. A figure crashed down, impacting the ground with a tremor that sent debris flying, a single, strained cough echoing through the air. A colossal, blocky figure, seemingly constructed of ancient stone, brought its immense foot down, the impact radiating cracks and fiery energy through the earth below. A colossal, shadowy figure knelt amidst a spiraling city built into the side of a massive mountain, the vibrant hues of sunrise painting the swirling sky above. A colossal, blocky structure, resembling a futuristic tank or carrier, lay crashed amidst a desolate, cracked landscape, dust and debris swirling around it in the ochre light of a dying sun. A monstrous, reptilian creature, its scaled belly exposed amidst a debris-strewn landscape, roared defiantly, its long neck arched in a display of primal rage. A lone figure, small against the colossal, geometric structure, stood perched on a protruding ledge, seemingly contemplating the immense being before them. Under the shadow of a colossal, scaled beast, a lone figure, shovel slung across his back, muttered a single, ominous name, treacherous. Under the looming shadow of a colossal, moss-covered object, a young man with dark hair, clad in simple clothes, brandished a shovel, a triumphant finally, escaping his lips, followed by a determined "I've won," as if he had just completed a monumental task. A dark, ominous command, "Become my materials," hung in the air as a cascade of shimmering, pixelated blue energy poured down, seemingly drawn towards a shadowy, shovel-like object below. Triumphant, the young man stood amidst a shower of light, his spoils of war materializing around him, treacherous hide, claws, scales, an eyeball, its heart, even breath powder, and vials of blood, all acquired. A new title flashed before the red-haired character, a surge of energy coursing through him as his fame resonated across another world. He breathed a quiet, uncertain question into the charged air, wondering if the tumultuous events were finally at an end. Power shifted in another realm, treacherous now ruled by King Jisiok. A stark nitrogen monoxide echoed, a refusal or denial hanging heavy in the air. A chime reverberated, followed by an ominous declaration. Otherworldly beings dared not defy the new king's authority. A hand gripped a shovel tightly, amidst a flurry of digital glitches, hinting at a transition or a shift in reality. The holder mused, with a sense of anticipation, that this was merely the prelude to a new world. The newly bestowed privilege, managing another world, filled them with a sense of limitless power. From now on, anything was possible, every path open to them. Absolute control was within their grasp, a tantalizing prospect. A menacing grin spread across his face, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling intensity as he gripped a shovel, seemingly ready for anything. News of Lord Treacherous's defeat spread, met with stunned disbelief and a resounding impossible, echoing across the crimson, jagged landscape of his dominion. A system announcement echoed, confirming with chilling certainty a momentous shift. The ruler of another world had been overthrown. A magnificent, crimson-winged creature descended, bathed in an ominous red glow, before a crowd of monstrous onlookers in a shadowy cavern. To monstrous figures, a green-scaled beast and a larger crimson dragon faced off in a fiery, rocky landscape, identified as elite officers of the Grancherous army. Someone witnessing the scene recognized the crimson dragon with shocked disbelief as the invincible Lord Grancherous himself. Someone proposed sending an investigation team to verify some information. A monstrous figure with glowing eyes and sharp teeth loomed, facing a vibrant, fiery bird-like creature. A smaller, horned figure insisted that fact-checking was needless, assuring Legion Commander Doro of the system's accuracy. A majestic, fiery bird screeched a battle cry, its glowing eye fixated on an unseen enemy, demanding vengeance for the fallen Lord Grancherous. A fearsome red dragon's head filled the frame, its glowing eyes burning with intensity as a command echoed, "Summon all available forces." With fierce determination, the creature roared, eager for meticulous preparation. A voice suggested waiting until tomorrow. Another voice, sharper and more insistent, snapped that they were going now. A golden dragon sensed a disturbance, a tremor in the air, turning to face a purple counterpart with a startled huh. A monstrous, scaled foot slammed down, radiating power and sending tremors through the ground, announced as the arrival of Lord Grancherous. A colossal, long-necked beast descended into a crimson, rocky arena, its shadows stretching long and ominous as dragon-like creatures looked up in apparent awe and relief. A voice, seemingly emanating from the spotted hide of one of the smaller dragon-like creatures, breathed a prayer of gratitude to Lord Grancherous. Reassurance followed swiftly, a voice declaring safety to the newly arrived giant. A booming voice demanded immediate revenge for Legion Commander Doro. Two armored beasts looked up, protesting that they had been discussing the very matter of advancing. A fiery, horned dragon seethed with barely contained fury at the interruption, muttering a venomous insult to the unseen speaker. A voice echoed, questioning if everyone was present as a fearsome, spotted creature with glowing eyes and sharp teeth emerged, snarling in confusion. A towering, mechanized dinosaur loomed over a smaller creature, its red eyes burning as it accused someone unseen. The smaller creature, visibly shaken and drooling, fearfully recognized the giant as Lord Grancherous. A monstrous, mechanized creature loomed, its red eye reflecting a tiny human figure, hinting at relentless torment and slaughter. A desperate plea echoed, begging for the killing to end. Consumed by a fiery rage, the young man, clad in a tank top and shorts, gripped a shovel, his shadowed face illuminated by glowing red eyes. A silent plea for forgiveness escaping his lips as he accused unseen adversaries of destroying everything he had built. His words dripped with venom as he blamed them for the ruins surrounding him. A menacing, mechanical dinosaur-like creature, its mouth agape, revealing a glowing red cannon within, prepared to unleash a destructive blast, a chilling challenge hanging in the air. "You deserve the same, don't you?" A trio of monstrous creatures, a red-scaled beast alongside a pale, spotted one, recoiled in apparent terror as a larger, dark, and heavily built behemoth roared its dominance, filling the air with its thunderous kyah. A frantic plea for discussion was met with a furious glare and an aura of intense rage emanating from the dark-haired man. He silenced the speaker with a guttural growl, his face contorted in a menacing snarl. A blinding mecha beam tore through the air, met with a tortured scream as it struck its target. A massive, luminous moon hung low in the inky sky, casting an ethereal glow over a jagged, desolate landscape. Someone forcefully struck something, scattering glittering blue crystals. The shovel plunged into the earth with a resounding clang. A small, anxious-looking dinosaur, loyal Doro, watched his commander diligently digging. Concerned, Doro offered to take over the strenuous task. The commander, focused on his work amidst the glittering blue crystals, politely declined the offer, assuring Doro he was perfectly capable. A small, pale creature, seemingly Doro's true form, questioned the boy's survival, noting his diminished size. Standing atop a pillar of glowing cubes, the boy with the shovel slung over his shoulder explained his regenerative abilities, though admitting to a decrease in size and strength. Intrigued, the creature simply hummed in response. The pale creature, with wide, tearful eyes and a hint of something blue adorning its head, offered a chillingly casual suggestion of imminent death. Between sobs, the unseen victim pleaded desperately for mercy. Surrounded by gleaming, otherworldly minerals, a figure with a shovel noted their abundance. He then turned to a small, ghostly companion, a question hanging in the air. The spectral being eagerly offered anything he desired, a hint of desperation in its voice. He demanded to know why they kept trying to kill him. A meek "I'm sorry and so sorry" floated from the small, pale creature beside a towering, reptilian structure. Frustrated, the man holding a shovel insisted they stop apologizing and explain themselves. One day, the creator descended upon Grancherous, the ruler of another world, to deliver a profound revelation. A chilling command echoed, "Eliminate King Jisiok, delivered by a luminous figure bathed in radiant light. The mysterious being, its form barely discernible within the blinding glow, vanished without a trace, leaving only the ominous decree hanging in the air. Standing atop a shimmering dark block embedded with glowing gems, a young man with a small sword questioned why anyone would challenge an average user like him. A pale, curious creature tilted its head in response, a simple "I don't know" escaping it. A smug, wide-eyed creature chuckled, questioning if a bee could ever grasp the beekeeper's intentions. A threatening voice pierced the air, accusing the creature of arrogance and challenging it. Fearfully, the creature squeaked in denial. Someone inquired about the possibility of meeting a mysterious creator. A surprised-looking individual admitted their ignorance on the matter, confirming their lack of knowledge. A curious little dinosaur-like creature hesitantly asked its master a question, its large eyes wide with anticipation. Its master, unseen but clearly present, responded with a simple, yet expectant, "What is it?" A towering reptilian figure loomed, questioning the boy diligently building a dark, gem-studded tower with a shovel. The boy, seemingly unfazed, replied with a sarcastic "Obviously, building a tower." Atop a shimmering, gem-encrusted tower, a young man with a shovel in hand gazed out at the sprawling landscape, prompting an unseen observer's confusion. From below, a small, surprised creature watched him with wide eyes as the boy's mischievous chuckle hinted at a secret plan about to unfold. A voice declared a desire to visit a certain place, their words laced with longing. A pointed finger emphasized the yearning. Intrigued, another voice inquired about the mysterious destination, curiosity evident in their tone. Under a vast, star-speckled sky, a young man with dark hair, clad in a sleeveless top and a cape-like garment, pointed excitedly towards a large, luminous golden moon, his expression a mixture of awe and wonder as he exclaimed, "The moon!" Stunned, one character stammered in disbelief upon hearing about an impending trip to the moon. A huge, golden moon filled the night sky, a backdrop to the incredible news. The other person, seemingly unfazed, responded with an enthusiastic lilt, suggesting the lunar journey would be an exciting adventure. Someone reacted with incredulity to his statement, demanding clarification on the perceived absurdity. The speaker continued, outlining the myriad scientific impossibilities of a proposed tower reaching the moon. A small, pale creature with cyan spines, seemingly unfazed, sighed and dismissed the technicalities, suggesting the journey to the moon transcended mere logistical hurdles. A question mark hung in the air, hinting at an impending revelation. With a mischievous grin, the young man, hammer casually slung over his shoulder, declared his journey was driven by the moon's presence. His excitement intensified as he emphatically added that his quest was all about romance. With a shrug of indifference, the character mused that it was all a game, and things would work out somehow. The next moment, the character gaped, utterly stunned by another person's actions or words, trailing off in disbelief. The small, hooded figure, seemingly dejected, was deemed a complete idiot. A sense of impending doom filled the air, leaving those involved feeling utterly hopeless. With a heavy heart, the grim realization dawned that there were no other options left. A sinister grin spread across the creature's face as it plotted to feign servitude, its mind already scheming betrayal. High above, a lone figure called for help, unaware of the sinister plot brewing below. A looming, light blue presence received the order to eliminate him, the chilling command echoing in the vast, dark space. A vibrant turquoise sky blazed with the sun's intensity. Later, under a star-studded night sky, a silhouetted figure toiled atop a towering, glowing structure, seemingly constructing it block by block. A colossal, moss-covered dinosaur-like creature stood nearby, observing the builder's progress in the night. High above, a determined figure in a hard hat swung a shovel, seemingly oblivious to the ghostly figure and looming reptilian creature nearby. A young man pondered a mysterious document, his small, bespectacled companion pointing at a strange symbol with an air of urgency. Against a fiery sunset backdrop, a silhouetted figure tumbled from a precarious tower of blocks. A giant, vibrant bird swooped down, its beak open wide as a small, teary-eyed creature plummeted towards it. On a floating platform, a young man watched the dramatic scene unfold. High above the world, two figures lay snug in their sleeping bags, seemingly oblivious to the danger below. A mechanical dragon, its metal hide gleaming, unleashed a torrent of fire, incinerating everything in its path. A colossal, segmented tower pierced the sky, a monstrous, scaled creature belching smoke at its base, dwarfed by the towering structure. High above the clouds, a towering structure of pixelated blocks reached for the stars, two small figures silhouetted against the cosmic backdrop. A shy, green-skinned figure in a yellow parka blushed, offering a dark rock studded with sparkling blue gems with nervous excitement. The recipient, a young man in a purple parka, beamed with delight at the offered treasure, his cheeks flushed. A figure, cloaked in glowing energy, questioned with intrigued surprise, going to the moon. As a vision of the figures in Arctic gear appeared within a swirling, otherworldly portal, a glowing figure, seemingly radiating power, stood bathed in vibrant purple light, the face of a distressed man visible within the aura. An unseen observer questioned the figure's sanity, deeming their actions foolish. However, another voice, laced with intrigue, countered that despite the apparent folly, the figure's endeavors were captivating. To ensure he wouldn't be disappointed, a sinister plot was hatched. A cunning smile played on the schemer's lips as they held an ornate pen, a glint of mischief in their eyes, deciding to orchestrate an interesting event for their unsuspecting target. With a decisive air, a hand holding an ornate pen finalized a list of cryptic items, declaring the moon to be the ultimate target. A foot clad in a light, high-top sneaker descended, casting a long shadow on the cracked ground below. Two astronauts, seemingly on the moon's surface, marched towards a towering structure of pink blocks stretching improbably towards Earth, hanging in the vast starry expanse. A pristine white boot made the first imprint on the lunar surface. The astronaut, face flushed with excitement and wonder, gazed at the alien landscape with wide eyes, a triumphant finally escaping his lips. Against the backdrop of the starry expanse, the figures in spacesuits reacted to their arrival. One, seemingly more seasoned, expressed a quiet awe, while the other, smaller and possibly younger, ecstatically declared their arrival. Triumphantly, the astronaut declared their success, a shared victory echoing in the vast, silent expanse. His smaller companion, seemingly awestruck by the accomplishment, offered a quiet, hesitant affirmation, gazing at the seemingly endless, precarious brick path stretching towards the vastness of space. A lone voice whispered in awe, "Wow!" Two astronauts, identifiable by the Korean flag on their suits, gazed at a towering, block-like structure stretching from the lunar surface towards Earth, one whispering in awe of its beauty, the other agreeing quietly. Awestruck by the breathtaking vista, the astronaut marveled at a sight unlike any he'd ever witnessed. He mused on the unexpected beauty of the landscape, his voice filled with quiet wonder. Flushed and slightly awkward, the astronaut in the white suit expressed gratitude for being shown something, a hint of embarrassment in their tone. Reassuringly, another voice, presumably from the orange-suited figure beside them, told them not to be embarrassed and agreed to something. Under the watchful gaze of Earth, the lead astronaut urged his companion to resume their lunar mining operation. His subordinate readily agreed, eager to continue their work. To figures in spacesuits, one pale green and shocked, the other human and perplexed, reacted to a sudden sound. A burst of uproarious laughter echoed, shaking the very ground they stood on. A monstrous, muscular rabbit roared with fury, its sharp teeth bared against the backdrop of the starry cosmos, accusing someone of coming a long way only to die, calling them blue planet scum. To figures in spacesuits, one noticeably smaller than the other, froze in terror on the desolate moonscape as a monstrous, feathered creature loomed over them, its massive form casting a chilling shadow. A menacing figure declared a location would be someone's tomb right before a devastating robotic punch landed, sending blood spraying and the victim reeling. A massive, segmented metal limb slammed down, eliciting a startled cry from the armored figure who barely dodged. The monstrous limb crashed onto a white, furry creature, eliciting pain gasps and gurgles. Against the backdrop of a star-dusted cosmos and a looming metallic structure, the astronaut, challenged about a recent remark, quickly dismissed it as nothing at all, a slight tension lingering in the air beside his alien companion. A menacing figure loomed, sneering at the blue planet scum, promising their demise. The beast crumpled to the ground, defeated, but a small voice questioned its own survival. Impressed, someone acknowledged the creature's surprising resilience. A piercing squeal echoed as a creature, its face a mask of blood and wide-eyed terror, emitted a horrifying shriek. A piercing squeal echoed, making the astronaut wince and clutch his helmet, muttering about the noise. His green-skinned companion, equally distressed by the cacophony, grimaced and yelled about the impending big trouble. Amidst a shaking landscape, a tiny astronaut wondered if it was an earthquake. Observing another, smaller astronaut-like figure twitching nearby, he realized it might be signaling for backup. A horde of monstrous, screaming rabbits descended upon the desolate landscape, their eyes wide with a feral intensity. To figures in spacesuits, one significantly smaller than the other, stood frozen in apparent shock, a shovel clutched in the taller one's gloved hand. A strangling gasp escaped the astronaut, a testament to the sheer terror of the unearthly encounter. A menacing sigh echoed as a horde of white, rabbit-like creatures encircled the tiny figures in a strange, segmented tail, their prey seemingly trapped and terrified, crying out that they were surrounded. Overwhelmed and horrified, the character recoiled from the sheer number of enemies swarming around them, a mechanical arm thrust out in a desperate, but futile attempt to defend. The situation quickly deteriorated, a grim realization dawning upon them that the odds were stacked impossibly high, and defeat seemed inevitable. Facing a horde of monstrous rabbits, the astronaut realized with dawning horror they were utterly unprepared for this lunar nightmare, fearing the end was near. Towering, menacing rabbit-like creatures loomed over a small, seemingly helpless figure, their aggression focused solely on their target. A flicker of hope ignited in someone observing the scene. This unexpected distraction could be an opportunity. A large, pale creature bit a cackling farewell, seemingly leaving a small, green-skinned astronaut behind. Determined, the spacesuited figure resolved to return to his home planet. A lone astronaut, dwarfed by the vastness of space, gazed melancholically at a distant blue planet, a pixelated bridge stretching towards it, as if yearning for a lost connection. Overwhelmed, he gazed at the breathtaking sight of Earth from a unique vantage point. A heartfelt thank you escaped his lips, filled with gratitude and awe. The astronaut and his small companion, both clad in spacesuits, sat side by side on a barren, rocky surface, seemingly at peace with the vastness surrounding them. Overwhelmed with gratitude, a voice expressed deep thanks for being shown a breathtaking sight. A colossal eye, filled with swirling colors, opened to reveal a miniature Earth nestled within its iris. A lone figure in a spacesuit, shovel in hand, dared a horde of unseen enemies to attack. Looming claws and a mechanical limb hinted at the overwhelming odds he faced, as a voice from below expressed alarm at their sheer number. Surrounded by a horde of menacing rabbits, the astronaut, clutching a shovel, desperately sought an escape route as a monstrous, fluffy creature lunged from above. A monstrous white creature shrieked as a vibrant, energy beam burst from its wounded leg, hurtling towards a small figure in a spacesuit who looked on in surprise. The beam streaked through the air, revealing at its source a strange, helmeted being with a fierce expression. Amidst menacing space rabbits, the astronaut, wielding a shovel, lands gracefully, surprising another smaller figure in a spacesuit who tumbles from the impact. The astronaut, smugly clicking his tongue, reveals a hidden strength he'd kept concealed. Floating in the inky blackness of space, the young astronaut looked surprised, having apparently been expected to flee. He lingered, expressing gratitude for having been shown something breathtakingly beautiful. A small, fierce-looking creature in a spacesuit declared its unwavering loyalty, ready to fight and die alongside its master so he wouldn't be alone. The astronaut, seemingly surprised yet touched by the creature's fierce protectiveness, stood firm, a shovel gripped in his gloved hand. Facing a horde of menacing, red-eyed rabbits, the spacesuit-clad young man grinned, a chilling gleam in his eyes, impressed by the sheer number. A ruthless command ripped from his throat, ordering the total annihilation of the rabbit horde. An explosion rocked the scene, bodies flying in a chaotic maelstrom of violence, as he ensured no creature escaped his brutal purge. The small, teal-faced creature in the helmet trembled, radiating nervous energy. A startled escaped it, its single visible eye widening in surprise. A moment of stunned silence hung in the air, before the creature blurted out a heartfelt "I like you." A spacesuit-clad figure, axe in hand and a mischievous grin on his face, soared through the starry expanse, having apparently just passed some sort of romance test, a small, worried-looking alien creature clinging to his side. Under the starry expanse, a group of rabbit-like creatures reacted with a mixture of shock and excitement as the ingredients for a powerful moon suit materialized before them, promising untold power. Surrounded by a throng of strange, rabbit-like creatures, the spacesuit-clad figure questioned their apparent fear. He declared his intention to survive, urging an unknown companion to do the same. With a powerful burst of energy, a figure in a futuristic suit, adorned with enormous, wing-like weaponry, descended from the sky, their threatening words hanging in the air, daring any who would oppose them. The onlookers, a crowd of startled rabbit-like creatures, stared upwards in stunned silence, their previous bravado replaced by a confused murmur. A menacing, mechanical being, pulsing with electric blue energy, declared its intent to claim someone as materials for its own nefarious purpose. Two figures, clad in futuristic armor, raised their glasses in a toast against the backdrop of Earth and a shimmering, celestial path. In the quiet darkness of space, a young man in armor took a long drink, letting out a satisfied sigh, as a small, anxious-looking alien companion watched nearby. Exhausted, the man in futuristic armor slumped against the rough, dark wall, a shovel discarded beside him, and a small, strange creature huddled at his side. He muttered about the grueling ordeal, and his companion, seemingly equally weary, echoed his sentiment, prompting him to explain the reason for their arduous labor. Someone questioned whether the protagonist was carving their name on the moon, suggesting a fight with rabbits would have been a more sensible activity. A giant, glowing moon displayed King Jisiok, freshly carved across its surface. He defiantly declared his need to claim the moon as his own. Exasperated by the tedious repetition, a voice complained about the monotonous grind of the game. The armored figure, startled, turned to face the speaker, a small, jaded-looking creature in a spacesuit. With a dramatic flourish, the armored individual countered with a teasing, "Why, you ask?" Beneath the star-dusted sky, a young man with a mischievous grin declared his enjoyment of the situation, his words echoing a thrill-seeking nature. Another voice, laced with disbelief, questioned if he truly found such chaos amusing. Exasperated, someone expressed their confusion before giving a dismissive "do whatever you want" about a mysterious, towering structure stretching towards a distant, luminous earth. A vibrant, violet burst of energy erupted from a distant, swirling blue sphere, shocking onlookers stationed on a precarious-looking platform. A young man in futuristic armor, a pickaxe in hand, froze, a startled gasp escaping his lips as he spotted something unsettling in the purple-hued landscape. His small, robotic companion mirrored his alarm, its single eye wide with a shared sense of bewilderment and fear. "What asterisk is asterisk that?" he stammered, the words laced with dawning dread. A young man with dark hair, clad in a futuristic outfit, stared with wide, furious eyes, his face contorted in a grimace of disgust as he witnessed something unsettling. A catastrophic rift tore through a vibrant blue planet, a fiery chasm spewing forth a precarious path of fragmented blocks leading into the starry void towards down another world. A figure in futuristic attire, sweat beading on his brow, gazed in awe and apprehension at the unfolding cosmic spectacle. Against a backdrop of stars and debris, a dark-haired man in futuristic armor stared in awe, realizing they had arrived at an entirely new planet. His small, dinosaur-like companion, clad in a spacesuit, mirrored his astonishment with a wide-eyed gasp. A figure, seemingly clad in some sort of armor, instructed someone to stay put while they investigated a disturbance. A startled face, bathed in a strange blue light, reacted with a confused "what?" as a gloved hand reached towards them. Stranded and bewildered, the young man in the futuristic suit questioned how he would return after being told to stay put just as a brilliant beam of energy erupted beneath him, propelling him skyward. A desperate cry of "mastered" echoed through space, followed by a frantic "hey" as a figure blasted off towards a burning planet. The small, blue-skinned creature in a spacesuit watched the fiery trail fade, whispering a mournful he's gone The small, pale creature, seemingly clad in a spacesuit, gaped in terror at the sight of a planet shattering into pieces, his mind reeling with disbelief. A furious figure, clad in white and wielding a shovel, propelled himself forward with a burst of energy, his face contorted in rage as he questioned the audacity of an unseen foe. His face contorted in a mask of pure fury, radiating a palpable aura of menace as he roared a threat, vowing vengeance if anything he had created was harmed. A blinding flash of energy erupted, tearing through the air with a deafening roar. Dust and debris swirled around the figure in the futuristic, blue and white armor as they knelt, seemingly stunned by the force of the blast. Amidst a fiery, chaotic backdrop, a young man in blue and gold armor desperately called out for treacherous, demanding an answer. Stranded amidst a fiery, apocalyptic landscape, a lone figure with a shovel cursed their lack of signal. Spotting something in the fiery, chaotic landscape, a voice exclaimed in surprise, only to be met by a frantic question from below about the commotion. The young boy, shovel in hand, ran along the precipice of a chasm as sparks and embers danced around him. A lone figure stood dwarfed by the gargantuan, flaming wreckage of what looked like mechanical beasts, the word grand double quotes echoing ominously in the fiery sky. A monstrous, fiery figure loomed, radiating an ominous glow. A young man's face, pale with shock and eyes wide with disbelief, reacted to the terrifying sight. Across a fiery, ravaged landscape, a lone figure with a shovel stood, prompting an urgent call to their boss about a survivor. Another, shrouded in shadow, reacted with incredulous disbelief to the news. Against a backdrop of fiery intensity, the young man's eyes widened in stunned disbelief, a silent question hanging in the air. A beat later, a soft, confused "huh" escaped his lips, the single word a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos surrounding him. Alarmed, someone urged Eurus to observe another figure's weapon, a sinister grin playing on the shadowed figure's lips against a fiery backdrop. Eurus, seemingly unconcerned, questioned the significance of the weapon. A dark-haired individual's eye widened, fixated on something off-panel. A sarcastic laugh echoed, finding the unseen event hilarious, then intrigue laced with mockery. The observer questioned why someone would be wielding a shovel, deeming them strange. Gripping a shovel, a figure addressed someone, their words laced with forced respect. A muscular figure, clad only in white briefs, gripped a simple wooden stick, a single leaf sprouting from its side. An unseen voice warned him about the implications of his words, given his choice of weapon. He responded with a nonchalant question, seemingly unfazed by the caution. A muscular figure, clad only in white briefs and a dark cloak, emerged from a violet aura, a predatory grin on his face, while a small, startled creature clung to his leg as a voice challenged the newcomer's identity. Chrono Life's strongest user, Peace, armed with a +99 reinforced wooden stick, was about to unleash his power. The word hung heavy in the air, a dramatic pause before the storm. His face, contorted in a fierce grimace, radiated an aura of intense determination as crackling blue energy surged around him. A figure, clad in shorts and gripping a shovel, radiated an unnerving aura of power, prompting a fearful "Who are you?" He responded with a low, menacing exhale. Ho. Purple energy crackled around the dark-haired man's eyes as he taunted his opponent, questioning their fury. The other man, radiating a frosty blue aura, glared back with a chilling intensity, a silent challenge hanging in the air. Surrounded by clashing auras of vibrant blue and menacing violet, the figures prepared to face off, their expressions a mixture of fierce determination and barely contained animosity. Bathed in contrasting neon hues of blue and magenta, the two rivals locked eyes, their faces contorted with fierce determination, the air crackling with anticipation. The word "fight" appeared, signaling the start of the inevitable clash. Chrono Life's strongest user grinned menacingly, wielding a +99 reinforced wooden stick, a weapon both absurd and terrifying. A muscular figure, clad only in a loincloth, emerged from a violet haze, a predatory grin splitting his face as he declared peace with chilling irony. Amidst a fiery backdrop, a scantily clad youth, accompanied by a small and polite creature, taunted a figure with words of unrecognized familiarity, only to be met with a sharp, silencing command. Amidst a fiery backdrop, a lone figure stood before a massive, monstrous machine, realizing with dawning horror, "So it was you?" The monstrous machine is revealed to be treacherous. Lost in thought, the young man pondered the towering structure he'd painstakingly built, a symbol of his hard work and dedication. A towering structure, silhouetted against a raging inferno, was declared the only way to reach the moon. Accusatory words hung in the air. "You destroyed it all like this." The dark-haired man's face, partially obscured by a vibrant purple aura, contorted in a furious grimace, his voice laced with disbelief and rage as he spat out a venomous "You." A young boy, clad only in his underwear and a dark cape, stood defiantly, a wooden club clutched in his hand, while a small fin creature shrieked in apparent outrage, labeling him a pervert. Gripping a shovel, a young man with fiery determination in his eyes challenged someone unseen, a backdrop of flames mirroring the intensity of his question. "Are you ready?" Someone angrily called a muscular, bare-chested man a pervert. The small, horned creature beside him erupted in boisterous laughter, echoing the insult. Unfazed, the man smirked, allowing the creature to enjoy its amusement. With a sly grin, he mused about the long journey ahead, hinting that others might be unaware of his true intentions. A foot slammed down, cracking the earth beneath its heel, a clear but hanging heavy in the air, pregnant with unspoken threat. The unspoken challenge continued, "If you don't know," leaving the recipient bracing for the inevitable consequence. With a manic grin and wild eyes, the purple-haired figure swung a hefty wooden club, a burst of vibrant energy crackling around it, and declared with menacing glee that someone would have to pay. With a furious roar, the attacker lunged, delivering a blow that left the other stunned and wide-eyed with shock. A burst of vibrant purple energy erupted from the ground, swirling around a small dark figure. The energy coalesced into a focused beam, rocketing skyward towards a tiny, distant figure. A young man with dark hair, draped in a simple cloak and clutching a wooden staff, looked up in surprise, a questioning "Huh?" escaping his lips. The armored warrior stumbled, his breath catching in his throat as he muttered about the close call. His left boot crackled with failing energy, pieces breaking off as a system warning flashed. Booster output impossible. A cloaked figure swiftly maneuvered across a rocky terrain, prompting a surprised remark about their speed from someone below. The observer, clad in futuristic armor, seethed with anger, muttering a venomous insult under their breath. A silhouetted figure, seemingly empowered with advanced weaponry, stood defiantly as massive, wing-like structures bristling with missiles unfolded behind him, poised for imminent attack. He unleashed his arsenal with a furious roar. "Take this." A volley of glowing blue missiles, trailing ethereal light, rained down from the heavens, launched from massive, shimmering, wing-like constructs against the backdrop of a giant, luminous moon, as a lone figure, small and defiant, stood below, seemingly controlling the celestial assault. A mischievous grin spread across his face as he teased his companion, clearly enjoying the joke. Wreathed in violet flames, a muscular figure brandished a dark weapon, a predatory grin on his face as he offered a cryptic invitation to reveal a hidden power. A figure, small against the backdrop of an impending explosion, looked up in startled confusion as a blinding, violet energy surged upwards. With a panicked expression, the dark-haired young man in light armor yelled, "Emergency escape," as vibrant purple energy pulsed around him. With a grunt of exertion, the man swung a shovel against a vibrant purple energy field, his face contorted with effort as droplets of magenta liquid splattered around him. With a resounding cry of summon, a blinding beam of light erupted from the earth, shattering the ground and pulsing with raw power. A colossal, mechanized fist, radiating an ominous glow, descended upon King Castle, the impact sending debris scattering. A muscular figure, clad in a tattered cape, scrambled over rocky terrain, a crude club clutched in his hand, his face a mask of startled disbelief as he exclaimed, "What?" With a thunderous castle rush, command, a colossal, blocky figure, wreathed in fiery energy, lunged forward with devastating speed. A powerful, fiery blast erupted from the ground, sending debris flying as a small, dark creature with lavender ears and a fluffy collar scrambled away in terror, its panicked wail echoing, "WWAAH." A figure in a spacesuit stared in stunned disbelief as a bizarre, blocky path stretched from a crumbling, fiery planet into the starry void, sweating and muttering, "What is happening?" A small, anxious creature, seemingly stranded on a desolate, cratered surface, looks up with worried eyes, questioning someone's well-being. His concern deepens, trailing off into a thought about that master double quotes filled with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Under a blood-red moon, a colossal, blocky figure loomed, its glowing eyes fixed on something unseen, a sense of dread emanating from its imposing form. A muscular figure, clad only in briefs and a dark cape, stood triumphantly atop a rocky terrain, a wooden staff held aloft, a look of disbelief etched on his face, murmuring, "This can't be ... Shock painted the first man's face as he witnessed an unbelievable parry with a mere wooden stick. A sinister grin spread across the second man's face, his eyes gleaming with anticipation as he prepared to retaliate. With a fierce grin, the cloaked figure swung a wooden club, purple energy crackling around it, leaving a trail of motion blur. A cloaked figure, weapon raised, launched himself through the air towards a sprawling, fortress-like city bathed in an airy red glow. A bead of sweat trickled down his face as his eyes widened in alarm, a soft "oh no" escaping his lips as he seemingly tumbled from a great height. A devastating downward strike, charged with vibrant purple energy, was unleashed, shattering the very air and sending debris flying as the attacker descended upon their target. A figure clad in magenta robes plummeted through a vibrant, rose-colored sky, a small object slipping from their grasp. An eye, glowing with an otherworldly, fragmented purple light, widened in sudden recognition. A voice, hushed with intensity, murmured, "That guy ... A cracked, crimson cube pulsed with a strange blue energy, dripping a viscous, glowing liquid onto a shovel held aloft by unseen hands, radiating power. A cascade of wooden and gem-encrusted blocks, multiplying by tens, hundreds, and thousands, rained down around a small figure scrambling to escape the overwhelming downpour. With a resounding cry of 1,000,000 block summon, a figure cloaked in crimson unleashed a torrent of power, their form almost obscured by the sheer scale of the magical energy erupting beneath them. A wave of colorful blocks surged outwards, answering the summon, rising like a tide of shimmering magic at his command. A figure, seemingly flung back by an immense, fiery blast, groaned in pain as they tumbled through the air, a colossal, fragmented structure looming above them. Startled, the young man with spiky hair recoiled, a mixture of alarm and frustration twisting his features as he questioned the unexpected arrival of a mysterious figure. A mysterious figure descended from the fiery sky, a wide, almost manic grin plastered across his face, prompting awe and questioning gazes from below. With a predatory grin and a weapon clutched high, the cloaked figure descended, ready to bring an end to the conflict. A vibrant magenta beam split the air, surrounded by tumbling debris, as a dark-haired man plummeted downwards. Below him, another figure, wielding a hammer and clad in lighter clothing, tumbled in apparent freefall, their expression one of shocked confusion. A furious clash erupted as the figures screamed at each other, their faces contorted with rage. One, with dark hair and a fierce expression, roared, "You bastard!" The other, partially obscured, let out a guttural cry of defiance. A fierce fighter, with a maniacal grin, launched a powerful downward strike. His opponent, armed with a shovel and a determined glare, braced for the impact, muscles tense. With a sharp, decisive slice, the shovel severed the thin, leaf-bearing branch. A blinding flash of pink and gold energy erupted, tearing through the darkness of space and partially obscuring a nearby planet. A blinding white light erupted from within a swirling vortex of purple energy, tearing through a dark sphere marked with the familiar contours of Earth. A gaping, luminous pink fissure split a planet into, scattering debris into the dark void of space as a worried voice called out, "Boss." A small, winged creature, Eurus, bounced excitedly, having finally found his boss. The boss, a dark-haired figure partially hidden in shadow, seemed surprised but relieved at Eurus's arrival. A muscular figure, clad only in underwear and a dark cape, stood proudly amidst a shattered landscape, a crude wooden club in hand, a small winged creature hovering nearby. His companion marveled at yet another world destroyed, while he, the apparent boss, smirked, seemingly unfazed by the devastation. A dry comment echoed the scene. Whoever built this world should have made it stronger. The dark-haired man's eyes widened, a silent question hanging in the air. A shovel, crackling with electric blue energy, materialized, hinting at an unexpected turn of events. But the word hung heavy with anticipation. Amidst a desolate, asteroid-strewn expanse, a lone figure clung to a floating rock, emanating a faint, ethereal glow, while another, larger figure watched in disbelief, questioning how he could still be alive. Under a swirling cosmos, a determined figure, clad in tattered cloth, focused their energy, summoning a vibrant, crackling sphere of blue power in their hands as gasps echoed around them. Straining with exertion, the young man with spiky brown hair challenged his unseen opponent, his face a mask of fierce determination despite the trickle of sweat and drool. He braced himself, muttering insults under his breath, blue energy crackling around his clenched fist. With a loud crash, the cloaked figure collapsed unconscious on the rocky ground, observed by a smaller, more agile figure levitating on a separate rock formation above. A small, horned creature with purple wings hovered near a muscular young man, its expression hinting at suspicion about a certain shovel. The man, his face set in a determined grimace, confirmed the creature's unspoken concern. Defeated, the man lay sprawled against a backdrop of dark space and scattered stars, the words "to have a weapon like that" echoing the awe and perhaps fear inspired by his opponent's power. A cloaked figure, face shadowed, emanated an unnerving aura, prompting a silent question of his true nature. A dark-haired figure, cloaked in shadows, unleashed a surge of vibrant blue energy, their face a mask of intense focus. A startled voice cried out, demanding to know their identity. A figure, face obscured by sunglasses and a surge of vibrant blue energy, materialized before another, their voice a low growl as they declared themselves their enemy. A scarred, smirking CEO, Choi Diakbai, exuded power, a cigar jutting from his lips as a woman with long, dark hair, clad in a white blouse and ID badge, stared forward with an enigmatic expression. The imposing figure in the white suit and crimson scarf, cigar clenched between his teeth, stood with an air of nonchalant defiance, seemingly unfazed by the accusatory voice booming around him about the destruction of yet another planet. A startled young man, clad only in his undergarments and a dark cape, turned to face the newcomer, a distinguished older gentleman in a white suit, while a woman in the air above expressed her own bewilderment at the unexpected arrival. The young man challenged the older one, demanding to know the reason for his presence. The woman in the white coat, her long dark hair billowing, propelled herself urgently through the air towards the small, rocky platform where the figures and a small floating creature watched her approach with evident surprise. A disembodied voice urgently called out, attempting to rouse a seemingly unconscious user. A young man, blushing slightly, gestured towards a small floating island where a figure lay prone. The older man, cigar firmly in his mouth, was taken aback by a question about the sleeping figure's relation to him, vehemently denying any familial connection. A woman's voice urged Mr. Jisiok to wake up, her words hanging in the air. Startled awake, the disheveled man with a small cut on his cheek groaned in discomfort as he blinked up at the dark-haired figure looming over him. A sly smile played on her lips as she heard the challenge, a hint of determination sparking in her eyes. A chilling declaration, "I've been double quotes, hung in the air as a gruesome scene unfolded before a lone figure. Bathed in an airy purple glow, a young man, bleeding and screaming, was held captive amidst monstrous figures with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth. The figure with long brown hair witnessed the horror, seemingly frozen in place. A man, bloodied and screaming, is held captive by monstrous figures emanating a sinister purple aura. A woman, her back to the viewer, sits bathed in an orange glow, seemingly observing the horrific scene unfolding before her. She's working diligently, focused on the task at hand despite the disturbing imagery. A woman with long dark hair, wearing a light-colored top and dark stockings, cupped her face in her hands, a knowing smile playing on her lips, her gaze hinting at a hidden agenda all for the purpose of making someone stronger. With a chillingly seductive smile, the long-haired woman, identified as Yuria, cradled the weakened man in her arms, her words a chilling confession of continuous murder. Stunned, the dark-haired man lay there, sweat beading on his forehead, struggling to comprehend the words he'd just heard. His eyes widened, still etched with disbelief, as a wave of pain washed over him. He choked out a pain whisper, barely audible, "It hurts so much." Under a star-strewn sky, a woman hovered over a man lying on a floating rock, a soft glow emanating from her as she seemed to awaken him, prompting a surprised "oh my" from an unseen observer. His eyes fluttered closed, a grimace of pain etched across his dirt-smudged face as he succumbed to unconsciousness. Under a twilight sky, a passionate kiss unfolded between two figures, the woman's hand gently cradling the man's head as their lips met. A blinding light poured from a rift in what looked like solid rock, illuminating the awestruck faces of two figures drawn to its otherworldly glow. With a gentle smile and closed eyes, she whispered sleep well to the dark-haired person below her. A woman with long brown hair leaned close, a knowing smile playing on her lips, as she addressed the dark-haired man before her with the gentle, yet possessive, "My dear user." A voice called out "Master" repeatedly, then a strange, large-eyed being in a spacesuit shouted "Hey." Towards a bright light against the starry backdrop, a frantic voice cried out, "Master, wake up." As someone desperately shook the unconscious man. He groaned in response, his eyes fluttering open as he was abruptly roused from slumber. A young boy, clad in shorts and a sleeveless top, yelped in pain as a small, white, oddly shaped creature squeaked and landed on him. The young man, clad in a sleeveless shirt and yellow jacket, groaned, clutching his head in apparent pain. His eye widened in sudden shock, the white stark against his skin. A blinding flash of light erupted, tearing through the darkness of space, leaving someone utterly bewildered. A world fractured, revealing a blinding light from within as fragments of its reality scattered into the void, hinting at the existence of another. Gazing at the impossibly pristine earth hanging in the starry expanse, the young man in the patterned jacket wondered aloud, bewildered by its unexpected wholeness. A small, pale creature with a fin-like tail cried out in relief, "Master, I was so worried." As it rushed towards its master, startled, the young man with dark hair exclaimed, "Whoa, Doro." He then softly expressed his gratitude, touched by his companion's concern. The pale green creature, with its small blue fin, gasped dramatically, frantically waving its arms and insisting there had been a misunderstanding, claiming their only concern was being lost in the vast expanse of space. A knowing "I see" was the response, hinting at disbelief. Doro's presence triggered a startling question about a possible return to the moon. A pixelated spaceship drifted before a massive, glowing lunar surface bearing the name King Jisiok. The uneasy suspicion was quickly confirmed with a simple affirmative yes. Surrounded by concerned little blue creatures and clutching a shovel, the weary young man insisted he was fine despite the worried inquiries about his well-being. A dark, menacing grin spread across his face as he remembered the brutal fight. He recalled the fierce struggle with the pervert, his body battered and bruised. Now, fully healed and bewildered, he questioned his miraculous recovery. Someone called out Doro, a questioning yes followed. A lone figure sat on a rocky surface, the vast expanse of space and earth looming large behind them, admitting to being unconscious and thus clueless about recent events. Someone demanded an explanation from the wide-eyed, pale creature, clearly agitated about a recent event. The creature, seemingly startled, eagerly agreed to explain, drawing a dramatic breath before beginning their tale. Just moments ago, everything seemed normal. A terrified scream echoed through the void as someone plummeted through space amidst floating debris. They realized with dawning horror that they had been transported to another world. A planet cracked, splitting into two massive pieces, sending debris scattering into the dark void. A small white, egg-shaped creature with glowing blue markings gasped, its tiny hands on its head in panic shock. An unseen voice exclaimed in alarm, noting the planet's catastrophic division. Another voice, seemingly calm and reassuring, urged for composure amidst the chaos. A strange, teal-skinned creature with dorsal fins watched in stunned confusion as a jagged bolt of golden energy crackled through the air. The energy intensified, exploding outward in a blinding flash of light, leaving the creature stammering in bewildered awe. With a burst of radiant energy, the woman gracefully descended, cradling the unconscious man in her arms. Below, a startled figure, clad in peculiar garb and with a smooth, almost egg-like head, looked up in bewildered surprise, a soft "huh" escaping their lips. With eyes wide and tongue lolling, the young man in the ornate jacket blurted out a desperate, almost delirious plea to his master. A woman knelt beside an unconscious man, a strange, small creature resting on his chest, her frantic cries for him to wake up echoing in the desolate landscape, a discarded shovel nearby hinting at recent labor. Someone reassured her that the man was merely unconscious, not dead, bringing a flicker of hesitant relief to her worried expression. A small, uncertain voice then questioned the reassurance, laced with fear and doubt. With a soft whisper of confirmation, she sealed a healing kiss upon him, a gentle magic sparkling around them. A woman with long brown hair, dressed in a white shirt, admired her handiwork with a sly smile, whispering about its potency, while a pale figure slumped beside her, and a concerned observer questioned her actions. A woman with long brown hair and a ring on her finger loomed over an unconscious man, her words laced with suspicion as she accused a small, pale, space-suited creature cradling the man of causing chaos in another world and harming her master. The woman, radiating confidence, stood bathed in a golden light, a smug look playing on her lips. She seemed surprised and amused, praising someone for recognizing her. A voice denied responsibility for the dramatic scene unfolding, even as a planet cracked and crumbled before them. The tall woman in a formal outfit stared down at the prone figure lying on the desolate, fractured surface, a smaller, strange creature beside him. Confused and alarmed, someone wondered aloud who, if not the speaker, could have caused such devastation. Against the backdrop of a star-dusted void, the woman in white, with a thoughtful pause, seemingly manipulated a fractured, glowing orb, murmuring about achieving peace with a curiously enhanced wooden stick. Emerging from the vibrant purple vortex of Chrono Life's main server, a muscular figure with dark hair and a predatory grin appeared, ready to wreak havoc. A muscular figure, draped in a dark cloak, smirked confidently against a vibrant backdrop, a tiny, wide-eyed creature clinging to his side as he was declared the strongest being in the universe. A vibrant, swirling nebula cradled the newly revealed world, hinting at untold secrets and adventures. A shimmering, protective barrier of energy enveloped the vibrant blue planet, safeguarding new users from the more experienced players on the main server. Against a backdrop of a star-dusted night, a muscular figure brandished a wooden club high, a manic grin twisting his features as if anticipating the satisfying shatter of something unseen. A blinding golden beam, propelled by the +99 reinforced wooden stick, tore through the cosmic backdrop, obliterating everything in its path. With his return to his own world, a fragile hope for peace flickered amidst the star-dusted backdrop, the delicate hands mending a fractured planet. A grim prophecy hung in the air. The world's fragile peace was destined to shatter once more. Someone nearby was instructed to deliver this ominous news to the sleeping young man as soon as he awoke. With a strange, pale creature at his side, the unconscious man lay sprawled on the ground as a woman in a crisp, white blouse looked down at him with an enigmatic expression, her words carrying a weight of expectation. With glowing purple eyes and hands clasped together, a surge of golden energy erupted from her, signaling her imminent recovery. A golden sphere, resembling a planet, cracked and fragmented amidst a blinding, explosive light as a dark-haired woman watched in apparent awe, while a man sprawled on the ground, overwhelmed by the spectacle, exclaimed his amazement. A man lay groaning on the cracked earth, seemingly defeated, while a dark-haired woman hovered above, her hands clasped, radiating an ominous aura of power amidst the chaotic energy surrounding them. A blinding flash of light erupted, consuming the space with its brilliant intensity, heralding a powerful, unknown force. A dark, swirling vortex loomed, and a groan echoed from within. Suddenly, the scene shifted, revealing a pale, dinosaur-like creature staring with alarm at the unconscious man lying beside it. The creature's eyes widened in shock, its mouth agape. Against the vast backdrop of space, a familiar blue planet comes into view, whole and restored. A character with dark hair looks on, face partially obscured by a large, round, pale object with a distinct blue marking. With a sense of relief and wonder, it's declared that the planet is finally back together. Panic set in as the figure realized their creator had vanished, leaving them stranded with a ghostly companion and a shovel. Their desperate cries for the creator echoed in the desolate space. The urgency in their voice intensified with each repeated plea, their hope dwindling with every unanswered call. Under a star-dusted sky, with Earth hanging like a giant blue marble, a young man in a checkered shirt sat on the lunar surface, listening to the soft, sleepy murmurs of a small, ghostly creature beside him, seemingly finishing a long and important tale. Alone on a desolate shore, a young man sat with a small spherical companion, a single, poignant eye escaping his lips. Lost and adrift, both physically and metaphorically, he lamented his downfall, the weight of his past arrogance heavy on his shoulders. The ruler of another world, casually dressed and holding a shovel, sat upon a throne, his expression suggesting an arrogant confidence. His reign, however, seemed to have taken a dark turn, as the next image shows him defeated, sweating and gritting his teeth in obvious pain and frustration, the caption hinting at a shattered illusion of invincibility. Consumed by self-loathing, he slammed the shovel into the ground, lamenting his perceived weakness. A small, concerned creature watched him, whispering his title with worry. Exhausted and kneeling, the young man gripped his makeshift weapon, a simple shovel, while a small, concerned creature hovered nearby. Someone praised his resilience against a formidable foe. He humbly admitted his defense was merely a desperate block with his only tool. Wide-eyed with disbelief, the man stared in shock. A beat of silence. He gripped a shovel tightly, confusion evident in his tense posture. Bewildered, he questioned how he managed to block an unseen attack with such an unlikely tool. A lone leaf drifted down as a sturdy, dark weapon sliced cleanly through a thick branch, hinting at a coming confrontation against overwhelming force. A lone, withered tree branch, tipped with a single decaying leaf, pierced a dark, smooth surface, the impact so profound it echoed with the ominous declaration of another world shattered. Brandishing a shovel, a figure shouted, startling the wide-eyed, pale green being in a spacesuit. Curious, the spacesuited figure inquired about the shovel's composition. He admitted his lack of expertise in minerals, but hinted at the existence of specialists who could help. Intrigued, the other person, a young man with dark hair, eagerly asked who these experts were. When it comes to minerals, the dwarves are the undisputed experts. A group of sturdy dwarves, clad in mining gear and gleaming helmets, proudly display their glittering finds deep within the earth. This dedicated band calls the Nelvin mine their home, toiling together in its depths. Seated on what appeared to be a lunar surface, a young man with a shovel inquired if dwarves were skilled craftsmen. A small, pale blue, almost alien creature confirmed their multifaceted talents with enthusiastic affirmation. He elaborated on their prowess, declaring dwarves masters of crafting, mining, and jewelry making, capable of any such task. Eager to meet someone, a hand reached down and scooped up a small, pale creature in a spacesuit, prompting a startled groan from the little being. A dark-haired man urgently asked a small, anxious-looking creature about the location of the Nelvin mine. The creature stammered a hesitant and uncertain reply. The man, now crafting a shovel on a pixelated interface, quickly dismissed the creature's vague response with a dismissive grin, implying the information was no longer needed. Screenshot _for 5.png. With a mischievous glint in his eyes, the young man suggested an aerial search, his small, blue companion looking on with wide-eyed curiosity. He gripped a glowing blue device, a determined now escaping his lips. A voice urged, "Let's go," following a surprised what? Awestruck, the young man in shorts and a light jacket looked up at an explosion of radiant blue energy, murmuring "whoa" in amazement. A devastated landscape of wreckage hinted at a recent catastrophic event. Driven by vengeance, a figure with spiky purple hair gripped a makeshift weapon, his manic grin promising retribution to the +99 pervert who destroyed his home. A woman with long brown hair and a knowing smile is brought into sharp focus, her eyes gleaming as if harboring a secret, the background hinting at chaos and destruction. A towering, mechanized figure, axe casually slung over its shoulder, loomed over a smaller, cloaked figure radiating a violet aura, the words "just wait" hanging heavy in the air, a silent promise or a chilling threat. With a determined glint in his eyes and a strange, worried-looking blue creature clutched in his arms, the young man vowed to repay a debt, a vibrant aura surrounding him. The jagged peaks of the dark highland pierced the violet sky, a foreboding landscape of another world. A horde of skeletons advanced menacingly, their bony fingers outstretched. The rattling of bones echoed as the skeletons scrambled towards a group, their approach heralded by a chilling, otherworldly groan. Unfazed, a cloaked figure with light hair, accompanied by two companions, one with vibrant pink hair and the other dark-haired and wielding a staff, stood their ground against the skeletal onslaught. A warrior, clad in blue and gold armor, plunged downwards, a manic grin on his face as crackling blue energy enveloped him, spectral skeletons dissolving behind him in a shower of light. A warrior, Yom, with an elaborate gold headpiece and piercing blue eyes, grinned menacingly, a hint of predatory excitement in his expression as he noted the abundance of his unseen targets. With a fierce cry, the fiery-haired warrior unleashed a devastating blow, sending a skeletal arm hurtling towards her unseen foe. Someone declared their enemies weak, dismissing their strength as insignificant. A powerful warrior, clad in ornate pink armor, smirked confidently, her weapon held high, as a blonde figure loomed behind her. The warrior's status was revealed: Peach Shield, a level 42 warrior with full health. Someone expressed their confusion about who the real monster was, prompting a shocked reaction from another. A swift, nimble thief darted across a battlefield littered with skeletal remains, while a mage, weary of the endless fighting, unleashed a fiery spell. A golden-clad warrior, a smirk playing on his lips, effortlessly cleaved through a shadowy foe, finding the fight disappointingly easy. An unseen voice justified the lack of challenge, explaining that the difficulty had been lowered for newcomers. A concerned voice questioned the strength of the monsters, worrying that new players might be deterred. The blonde, crown-wearing figure, surrounded by a grim landscape of bones, smirked, revealing a sinister confidence as he boasted of their unexpectedly rapid growth. The fiery-haired warrior, adorned in elaborate armor, expressed her disbelief at the game's poor management, citing a recent server crash. A small, mischievous figure beside her, holding a skeletal hand aloft, seemed to find amusement in the situation despite the technical difficulties. Amidst a battlefield strewn with bones, a small, furry creature and a dark-haired mage unleashed their power, prompting a confident boast about their dominance on the server. A warrior clad in gold, deflecting blows from animated skeletons with elegant ease, retorted with a laugh, accusing the furry creature of arrogance. The dark-haired woman, seemingly concerned, noticed something amiss and questioned grace. Amidst a grim landscape of scattered bones, the dark-haired mage, clutching her ornate staff, breathed a name, Joachim, her voice laced with a mix of apprehension and determination. A dark shape appeared against the violet sky, prompting the regal, blonde figure to question its nature with a mixture of alarm and curiosity. A shadowy figure, horned and immense, descended from the violet sky, its form still indistinct. The descent was slow, deliberate, increasing the suspense of its arrival. A group of adventurers, including a warrior in ornate golden armor, a dark mage, and a woman in a vibrant pink outfit, wondered if they were facing a new, unknown monster. The golden warrior, with a confident smirk, mused that this unfortunate creature had the bad luck of encountering them first. A determined group of adventurers, led by a golden-armored warrior, prepared to face a formidable foe, their leader urging them to meet the challenge head-on. Their first defeat became a milestone, an achievement unlocked on their perilous journey. A spinning, blurred object hinted at a rapid descent or search. An unseen voice excitedly inquired if the dwarves had been located. Disappointment followed as another voice corrected, revealing the dwelling belonged to skeletons. A young man, clad in a sleeveless shirt and shorts, waved from a window, a strange, pale creature peering over his shoulder, eliciting a tch of annoyance from an unseen observer. Humiliated, a character lamented their current state as a bizarre, mechanical crocodile-headed helicopter whirred into view. A sharp-witted commentator, likely observing the scene, emphasized the romantic implications of the absurd situation with a knowing smirk. Someone expressed relief at having Grantris's head back, but the sight that greeted them through the parted curtains, a desolate landscape, and Grantris holding a shovel prompted a dramatic, despairing plea for death. Spotting figures in the distance, the young man in plaid pajama top wondered aloud if they were users. His small, dinosaur-like companion looked up at him, a confused escaping its mouth. A worried young man and his strange, pale companion observed a distant battle unfolding across a desolate, purple landscape, a silent hum escaping the man's lips. A blinding flash of purple light erupted, startling the dark-haired man and the pale, wide-eyed figure beside him. Then a second, even more intense burst of violet energy crackled and expanded, met with an astonish from an unseen observer. A bizarre, mechanical creature, resembling a dragon with a propeller, unleashed a vibrant purple energy beam, shocking onlookers. Another blast of turquoise energy followed, confirming a successful strike against the monstrous machine. A group of warriors unleashed a barrage of energy attacks. A strange, fleshy, winged object rolled through the air. The red-haired woman with the jeweled headpiece gritted her teeth in fierce determination as she wielded the unusual weapon. A warrior, clad in gold armor, faced a fiery-haired opponent as a thunderous blast erupted between them. The blinding energy surged towards a monstrous, swirling creature of flesh and sinew. The creature recoiled, its fleshy form twisting and contorting as the attack slammed into it. A grotesque, mechanical monstrosity soared through the twilight sky, launching smaller projectiles that streaked towards the earth. The scene shifted to the ground, where a figure watched in stunned silence as the projectiles whizzed past, leading trails of light and sparks. He seemed to hold his breath, speechless and apprehensive, as chaos unfolded above. Startled, the young man in pajamas pointed at some unseen, weak force, a bewildered dinosaur-like creature beside him. The creature nervously suggested they were likely novices. After a massive battle, one combatant lay defeated, a manic grin twisting his face. The victor, arms crossed and contemplative, seemed to feel the weight of the fight, sensing a profound disparity in their power. The difference, he realized, was immense. A worried creature questioned the young man gazing out at the sparkling cityscape, unsure if they should release someone. The man firmly refused, his back turned to the creature and the breathtaking view. Seething with rage, the young man declared they had been attacked first, and now vengeance was the only path forward. Grantris, a fearsome mechanical beast, was summoned. The monstrous machine roared to life, its blades whirring, acknowledging its master's command. A new threat loomed, a group identified only as those guys. With a manic grin, the young man gave the order to obliterate, his voice edged with a chilling excitement. A monstrous, reptilian creature, its maw filled with jagged teeth, roared its affirmation, ready to unleash destruction. A bizarre, mechanical creature whirred through the air, its grotesque face illuminated by an internal glow, catching the attention of the blonde figure below who expressed surprise. A monstrous, mechanical jaw unleashed a devastating blast of energy. A stunned onlooker, bathed in the harsh light of the explosion, gaped in disbelief. A blinding beam of energy erupted, crackling with power as it tore through the air. Amidst a fiery, chaotic explosion, a crowned figure was thrown downwards, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. Overwhelmed by disbelief, a man gasped impossible. As his face contorted in shock, the scene blurring around him and his companions mirroring his horrified awe. A crowned figure, face contorted in a mixture of shock and fury, unleashed a primal scream that reverberated through the air. A menacing, mechanical creature descended from the smoky sky above a raging inferno, its descent marked by an ominous whoosh. A chilling word, and hung in the air amidst the flames. Amidst a raging inferno, a lone figure, clad in gold and blue, knelt on the scorched earth, murmuring in disbelief. He stared in awe and terror at the blazing spectacle, his mind struggling to comprehend the sheer power before him. The man's voice, barely a whisper at first, grew louder, filled with a mix of fear and fascination, as he questioned the insane nature of the fiery display. A startled young man, face smudged with something dark, recoiled with a cry as a small, pale creature cowered nearby. A menacing voice questioned his attempted escape, threatening a mecha beam attack. With a resounding cry of mecha beam, a powerful, blazing energy blast erupted from the character's weapon, tearing through the air with crackling intensity. Two figures, cloaked and radiating power, tumbled through a vibrant, explosive backdrop. A blinding flash of energy erupted from the ground, sending debris flying in all directions, the earth cracking beneath the force. A menacing, mechanical crocodile-headed aircraft descended towards a desolate, fiery landscape, dwarfed by the figures standing below. The scene shifted to reveal a fallen warrior, clad in tattered gold and purple armor, lying amidst the rubble, his sword cast aside. Amidst a grim landscape littered with bones, a young man with a shovel suggested reviving the skeletons for directions, a seemingly ludicrous idea affirmed by his small, strange companion. With a mischievous grin and gleaming eyes, the young man declared his readiness, eager to embrace the challenge ahead. He threw back his head, a thrill of anticipation coursing through him as he decided to take the plunge. A glowing shovel plunged towards a skull, its wielder declaring the skeletal remains his next crafting material. Amidst a dimly lit cavern, a young man with a shovel unearthed a skeletal bones, a puff of dust swirling around the morbid discovery as a small, anxious-looking creature watched on. A game notification popped up, confirming his grim acquisition. A notification popped up, announcing a newly unlocked crafting ability, Bone Maker, and the young man in the tank top reacted with wide-eyed surprise, a soft "huh?" escaping his lips. A game screen displayed the activation condition, Avenging the Skeletons. A notification dramatically appeared, heralding the Bone Maker as power to create powerful skeletons based on different combinations. Amidst a grim landscape of scattered bones, the young man, shovel in hand and a bewildered expression on his face, held up a newly unearthed scroll, marveling at his strange discovery. His small, blue companion stared at the scroll with wide-eyed surprise, clearly as perplexed as he was. A chilling title, Bone Maker, was inscribed on the scroll, sending a shiver down their spines. Excited by the abundance of materials, the dark-haired young man eagerly suggested an experiment, oblivious to his companion's growing unease at the sight of the scattered skeletal remains. A dark, jagged landscape stretched under a violet sky, a voice declared, "It's done." A crafting interface blinked complete. As a finger tapped the screen, revealing a tiny pixelated skeleton freshly assembled in a bone-framed factory. A tiny, skeletal dog, beeping adorably, floated down towards the adventurer and his reptilian companion, its information card revealing it to be a harmless, huggable, and curious creature. Amidst a throng of dancing skeletons, a young man, draped in a patterned cloth, named a small, shy skeletal creature Byangaji, chuckling at its cuteness. Another, unseen person observed the bizarre scene, finding the whole situation unsettlingly strange. Annoyed by the playful antics of the skeletons, a voice urged the young man with the shovel to get to serious work. He, squatting amidst the surreal scene, quietly muttered that messing around was much more entertaining. A startled expression washed over the heavy-set man's face as he murmured a confused "huh." His gaze drawn to a vibrant, skull-adorned game notification announcing a special crafting event. A challenge appeared, etched in pixelated glory. Create 100 unique skeletons and a rare one would emerge. A surprised gasp echoed, with a triumphant yes. The dark-haired man, wielding a shovel, proudly declared his foresight. He crouched, flanked by a ghostly creature and a tiny skeleton, some ancient-looking script laid out before him. A groan of exertion escaped his lips as he continued his arduous work. With a sinister chuckle, a dark hand reached out and pressed a glowing button labeled crafting beneath a banner screaming special event, unleashing beams of eerie turquoise light. A figure pointed upwards as a skeleton seemingly disintegrated into glowing purple particles. Suddenly, more skeletons appeared in the vibrant purple haze, startling the figure and his fantastical companions. The figure exclaimed in surprise at the spectral spectacle. Beneath a sky ablaze with celebratory fireworks, a helmeted figure, adorned with a skeletal chest piece and sharp, pointed headwear, muttered my master with a quiet reverence, a purple gem glowing faintly on their chest. Bathed in vibrant purple light, a skeletal figure, adorned in ornate armor and a majestic crown, announced their arrival with a surprisingly humble greeting, marking their own birth. The ornate, golden crest bearing a skull crown in gold and adorned with a violet gem proclaimed the arrival of the legendary Lich King, an SSS-ranked threat, the sovereign of the undead. With utmost respect, a powerful, flaming figure requested a name from their master. The young man witnessing this otherworldly spectacle, accompanied by a small, friendly ghost, stammered in disbelief, recognizing the fiery being as the dreaded Lich King. A young man, cradling a small skeleton figure, reacted with alarm as a strange, pale creature with spiky blue fins gasped dramatically. A tense silence hung in the air before the creature declared the Lich King the most cunning and evil monster. Amidst crackling purple energy, a masked figure exuded an aura of defiance, his posture radiating an unshakable resolve. His pride and power were palpable, a silent declaration of his unyielding spirit. With a determined glint in his eye and a set jaw, he declared his resolve, the words of decided, hanging heavy in the air. With a mischievous grin and pointing directly at the reader, the dark-haired youth wearing a skull-print shirt was introduced as Pidgeottic, a name he seemed either amused or indifferent by, given his light-hearted demeanor. He wondered aloud, seemingly to a small creature peeking from the speech bubble below, if now was really the time to be concerned with names, implying a more pressing matter at hand. With a chuckle, the man in the skull-printed tank top expressed gratitude for the name bestowed upon him. Observing the interaction, a shadowy, horned figure and a small, pale creature exchanged a look, one pondering aloud whether the seemingly compliant man would indeed prove successful. Someone asked Pidgeottic if he knew the location of the Nelvin mine. Doubting the possibility of such knowledge, another observed that it seemed impossible for him to answer so readily. Pidgeottic confirmed with a confident "Yes, I do." A small, spiky creature urgently declared something was known. Excited and seemingly in a hurry, a dark-haired boy eagerly requested to be guided somewhere immediately. With a dark chuckle, the crowned figure turned their back, a sinister violet-sheathed dagger gripped in their hand. Below, a voice, seemingly emanating from the shadows, pledged unwavering obedience. Moments ago, a peaceful night scene unfolded in a moonlit forest as woodland creatures gathered around a glowing pool, their eyes reflecting the mystical light. A single vibrant green leaf unfurled from a rough-hewn wooden staff, kissed by a faint, warm glow. A blinding light erupted, bathing the forest clearing and its inhabitants, deer, a shadowy wolf-like creature, and smaller animals in an ethereal glow. A blinding flash of energy erupted, tearing through the very fabric of space, hinting at devastating power about to be unleashed. A blinding violet beam erupted from the earth, tearing through the darkness and reaching towards the heavens. The word recover materialized, hinting at a return. A group of individuals gathered around the figures, attending to someone on the ground. The armored warrior sat up, touching his head, seemingly disoriented but recovering, surrounded by concerned onlookers. The ginger-haired knight's eyes widened in stunned disbelief, his mouth agape as if he'd witnessed something utterly impossible. A single word, user, hung heavy in the air, hinting at a shocking revelation. Silhouetted against a vibrant sunset sky, a lone figure meditated atop a precarious rock spire, the vast, misty mountain range stretching out before them. A lone figure emerged from the churning depths, their silhouette stark against the turbulent water. Darkness consumed the scene, a brief moment of quiet anticipation. Bathed in the golden glow of a dramatic sunrise, a shadowed face looked skyward, a silent promise or perhaps a grim acceptance etched upon their features. Bathed in the golden light streaming through a grand arched window, a lone figure sat upon a majestic throne, their silhouette hinting at both power and solitude. The words "those who covet" appeared, ominously foreshadowing the desires and ambitions that drive the shadowed figure. A sinister grin spread across the shadowed figure's face, a hint of ambition gleaming in their eyes, as the coveted position of ruler in another world was mentioned. The grand, imposing throne room stood empty, the words "this new master" echoing with an unspoken challenge. The unseen speaker's voice dripped with disdain, adding, as quite a flashing one. Under the watchful gaze of a marked moon, a prophecy was declared. All who witnessed the lunar inscription would know him by a name yet to be revealed. A shadowy structure, perhaps a throne or altar, stood silhouetted against the twilight sky, hinting at the grandeur of his future title. A giant, ominous planet loomed in the star-dusted sky, marked with a strange, angular symbol, foreshadowing the king's arrival. Under a twilight sky patrolled by skeletal angels, a command echoed, "Let's go." The young man, shovel in hand and a small skull clutched to his chest, declared with a grin, "Now then mine." As he strode forward beside a regal skeletal figure in ornate purple robes, a masked figure with a golden crown loomed, the words but before that hanging heavy in the air. A sharp cry of Pidgeottic pierced the tense atmosphere as blades flashed, the masked figure striking with swift ferocity at the startled young man holding a cooked chicken. The young man, wide-eyed and caught off guard, could only manage a choked yes. A towering, skull-faced figure in ornate armor commanded the youth to stop hiding, their voice echoing through the desolate landscape. As a small, spectral being floated nearby and the young man, clutching a shovel, stared in bewildered silence, a single question mark hovering above his head before whispering a stunned, "What did dot?" A challenging smirk played on his lips as he questioned the other's intention to depart so easily. A crowned figure, seen from behind, offered a cryptic explanation, "Because there's still double quotes, leaving the rest of the sentence hanging heavy with unspoken meaning. A crowned figure, seen from behind, loomed, their presence radiating an ominous aura. A wickedly curved blade engulfed in violet flames was gripped tightly, hinting at impending violence. A sinister plan was brewing, with Dark Highland as its target. With a maniacal grin and wielding a wooden staff, the young man declared it was time to begin. The armored figure, face obscured by a mask, chuckled darkly, questioning the meaning of his opponent's words. A surge of fury ignited in his eyes, pupils shrinking to pinpricks. A shadowed figure, clad in dark armor with a glinting purple gem, watched silently, an ominous aura emanating from its still form. The skeletal figure, crowned and clad in mining gear, declared safety as the utmost priority. A construction worker rallied his crew, including a masked figure and a small, skull-faced creature, promising to build the safest living space with their combined strength. Below, a throng of skeletal workers looked up, seemingly anticipating the promised safe haven. A fortress tower was declared the ultimate objective, illustrated with a whimsical drawing of a skeleton king atop a fortified tower, defended by tiny warriors. The enthusiastic worker, wielding a shovel like a weapon, proposed mounting an arsenal of defenses to make their fortress impenetrable. A construction worker, wielding a shovel, rallied a horde of hard hat-wearing skeletons, prioritizing safety amidst the eerie chaos, while a regal figure and a small creature watched from below. A masked warrior, crowned with sharp spikes, dramatically declared safety first. Amidst a vibrant purple backdrop, his strange attire and excited shouts adding an unsettling air of chaos to the scene. Against the backdrop of a pixelated sky and a shovel icon, a sprawling construction site buzzed with activity. A foreman, face etched with determination, oversaw the bustling scene, a strange, anxious, bandana-wearing frog-like creature by his side. A skeletal figure, radiating an unsettling aura, lurked in the background, observing the construction with an unknown intent. A desolate, purple-hued landscape hinted at an ominous presence. A hand blurred in rapid motion, twirling a wickedly curved dagger, the air whistling around it. The grip tightened, the ornate blade now poised, ready to strike with deadly precision. A skeletal figure, adorned in ornate armor and a menacing grin, loomed large, radiating power. Confetti rained down as a banner proclaimed the Dark Tower completion, a grand celebration unfolding beneath. At the center of the festivities, a young man caught a ribbon alongside the armored skeleton, watched by cheering skeletal onlookers and a small, curious creature. A towering skyscraper, emblazoned with a skull insignia, pulsed with vibrant light as confetti rained down, a voice booming everyone. Across the scene, below, a multitude of figures swarmed, their shadows dancing in the artificial glow, while a satisfied "good job" echoed from an unseen source. Someone suggested a final safety test, causing a small, startled creature and a young man with a shovel slung across his back to react with surprise. The man, adorned with a red sash and rosette, vehemently refused the proposed test. A tiny, pale creature, resembling a teardrop with a small fin, struggled under the weight of a wooden placard displaying a grinning, armored figure. The placard boldly declared the arrival of an intruder. A terrified, teary-eyed blob creature screamed as a massive, shadowed structure crashed down around it. A cheerful voice declared success, giving the creature a passing grade. A small skeleton, seemingly relieved, stood near a large, broken, possibly clay object in a desolate, purple landscape. With a contented sigh and a shovel slung over his shoulder, the young man turned away from the cheering skeletons and their ghostly companions, finally at peace. A dark-haired individual urgently instructed someone to send a laser signal and flee if they encountered an overwhelming enemy. A brilliant blue beam shot skyward from a futuristic, heavily armed structure, a skull emblem ominously displayed. Reassurance followed, help was on its way. A hand reached down, affectionately ruffling the head of a small, bone-like creature named Baongaji with a gentle command to guard the house well. With a cheerful grin, the young man and his skeletal companion sped off on a motorbike, a peculiar little ghost floating beside them, leaving a chorus of "see you later" echoing from the crowd of skeletons behind. A young man, clad in a casual jacket, cheerfully waved, seemingly commanding a horde of small, excited skeleton creatures before a brightly lit building. A lone figure sped across a vast desert on a motorcycle, silhouetted against a blazing sunset. A young man riding pillion on a skeletal figure's motorbike grumbled about the driver's slow pace, a small, concerned creature perched between them. A worried thought bubbled up. Had they been traveling for too long? Suddenly alerted, the young man turned towards the bleak, mountainous landscape identified as Dark Highland. The dinosaur-like creature, with a disgruntled expression, complained to his companion about their unexpected detour, emphasizing they were far off course. His companion, identifiable only by a patterned sleeve, seemed about to respond. A skeletal figure wearing a sharp, golden crown grinned knowingly against a fiery sunset backdrop, murmuring a low chuckle as if a plan was unfolding. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, two figures sped across the desert landscape in a futuristic vehicle, one cloaked in darkness, the other radiating a lighter presence. A hopeful wish for a pleasant journey echoing in their wake, met with an enthusiastic agreement from a determined face. Under a starlit sky, a young man and a cloaked figure shared a quiet moment by the campfire, cooking fish while a small white creature looked on. The next day, under a vibrant blue sky, the trio journeyed across a verdant field, the young man shouldering a shovel and the small creature hopping happily beside them, their reflections shimmering in the water's surface below. A skeletal figure, adorned in dark robes, gestured towards a small, dark opening in the rocky mountainside, addressing a young man with a shovel and a small, pale creature at his feet. The entrance to a mine, dimly lit by hanging lanterns and marked with a pickaxe sign, appeared ominously inviting. He realized he'd arrived. A menacing figure declared Nelvin as theirs, a shadowed form looming over the young man in the hard hat. A concerned face peered out from the corner, asking about the missing dwarves. A small, round creature in a hard hat, pointing a finger at a dimly lit lantern, simply shrugged, admitting ignorance. Recalling memories from a past life, a voice revealed a disturbing lack of news from the dwarven mines. Shocked, the young man in the checkered shirt gasped, his face contorted in disbelief. One day, the dwarves mysteriously vanished from the mines. A figure in a mask and elaborate headdress, possibly their leader or a concerned observer, seemed aware of their sudden absence, a subtle hint of intrigue in their masked expression. The disappearance sparked an unspoken question, a sense of foreboding hanging in the air. A chilling revelation echoed. None who ventured into the mine to investigate the unsettling events ever emerged. Overwhelmed, the helmeted figure wailed in disbelief, demanding to know why they were only hearing this crucial information now, as the skeletal figure chuckled darkly, reminding them they hadn't asked. Deep within a crimson cavern, a small figure bravely ventured forward, observed by two shadowy figures lurking in the foreground, one armed with a bow, the other an axe. One of the lurking figures anxiously questioned their master about retreating, but the master, likely the golden armored warrior, firmly declared they wouldn't turn back after coming so far, despite the evident danger ahead. Blazing projectiles hurtled towards the bewildered young man in the cap, his eyes wide with shock as he uttered a confused "huh." A bizarre, grinning creature launched a spinning attack, as a young man with a shovel looked on in surprise. The armored figure, with a sharp, menacing smile, gripped a glowing spear, bracing for conflict. Sinister red eyes glowed in the darkness, startling the young man in the hat. His eyes widened in alarm, a gasp escaping his lips as he stammered a confused and frightened "what's that?" A strange cry, pidgetic, echoed through the air, adding to the unsettling atmosphere. A powerful, armored figure loomed, its glowing eyes fixed on a target. A desperate plea, "Don't kill him," echoed from a small face wearing a construction hat. The skeletal warrior, clad in purple armor, recoiled, hands raised in a gesture of defense or surrender. A skeletal, winged figure with a menacing grin unleashed a swirling vortex of dark energy. One combatant, struck by the blast, recoiled, his eyes wide with shock as purple energy crackled around him. Another fighter, face contorted in a fierce grimace, braced for impact, a surge of vibrant purple energy emanating from his outstretched hand. Confusion filled the air as a bizarre figure appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. The newcomer's fierce expression and upside-down descent shocked the young man. He gaped, utterly bewildered, realizing the strange being was a dwarf. A menacing, skeletal dwarf king, adorned with a crown and dark robes, hovered ominously, flanked by two smaller figures as a worker in a hard hat stared in disbelief. Confused and unnerved, the worker stammered that this wasn't normal dwarf behavior. A young man in a hard hat, shovel in hand, urgently tried to rouse an older, bearded man lying on the ground, demanding to know why he had attacked them. The bearded man groaned incoherently, seemingly disoriented. A small, bearded figure urgently warned the nearby human to flee, a note of panic in his voice. The human, clad in a hard hat and holding a shovel, looked down at the small creature, confusion evident on his face as he questioned the strange command. A worried dwarf miner, his face illuminated by his headlamp, looked upwards with wide, frightened eyes. He realized with dawning horror that all the dwarves in the mine had gone mad and turned violent. A menacing warning: anyone who enters the mine the double quotes echoed as the monstrous figures of miners, bathed in ominous red light, glared with burning eyes and snarling maws, their clawed hands reaching out from the darkness. An ominous prophecy hangs in the air, will be, as countless shadowy figures with glowing red eyes gather in a dark chasm, their sheer numbers hinting at an impending, terrifying event. Surrounded by a horde of menacing red-eyed creatures, the young man in the bucket hat stared in stunned silence as a skeletal figure loomed behind him, a terrified companion cowering nearby. The chilling word "killed" echoed in the heavy air. A skeletal figure, crowned and imposing, loomed over the scene as a young man with a shovel and a worried expression was questioned about the old miner's sudden recovery. He stammered, about to reveal the source of the shocking revival. A sinister grin spread across his face as he began to speak, a hint of mischief in his eyes. A sinister, skeletal figure loomed, a promise of an easy way hanging in the air. A youth armed with a shovel and a manic grin charged forward, a ghostly companion floating just behind, his physical therapy about to begin. Facing a horde of glowing eyes in the crimson depths, the lone figure in the hard hat taunted his unseen enemies. His challenge to the crazy old dwarves was met with a furious, bloodshot glare from the enraged miners surging forward. A horde of menacing figures, eyes glowing red, surged forward with a furious roar. Charging into the fray, a young man with a pink cap gripped his weapon, a skeletal warrior at his side. He urged his companion onward, determined and ready for battle. With a resounding cry of magic missile, a dark figure unleashed a torrent of glowing purple energy, engulfing the space around them. The potent magical attack sent a group of figures, seemingly miners judging by their outfits, sprawling through the air, caught in the blast's destructive force. With a ferocious bite, command, a swarm of peculiar, helmeted figures lunged forward, their movements a blur of motion and determination as one terrified man watched in horror. With a powerful robot punch, the young boy in the cap unleashed a devastating blow, sending robotic figures scattering in a fiery explosion of sparks and metal. With a spirited hi-ya, the construction worker in the hard hat unleashed a flurry of blows, sending his opponent sprawling amidst a chaotic explosion of dust and impact stars. He grinned, exhilarated by the fight, acknowledging his opponent's surprising strength. A menacing figure, small but with glowing red eyes, lunged forward, a glint of steel flashing in his hand as he warned his seemingly oblivious target not to drop their guard. A furious outburst, "How dare you!" preceded a powerful blow, leaving the recipient stunned and disoriented, their world exploding in a flash of white. A young man, startled, stared in disbelief at a towering, grinning skeletal figure adorned with a golden crown. A figure in light clothing darted away from a flurry of attacks, shouting defiantly about their solo capabilities. A masked, armored being, radiating power, loomed close behind, their laughter echoing a sarcastic agreement. Someone demanded silence, warning of consequences if the commotion continued, while two small figures in protective gear cowered fearfully amidst a dimly lit, cavernous backdrop. A figure in a checkered shirt and hat, face contorted in exertion, lunged forward with a powerful punch, radiating an aura of intense energy as a startled creature with wide eyes gasped in alarm. Terror twisted the bearded man's face as he realized a monstrous threat was about to awaken. A monstrous, shadowy claw descended from above, its crimson aura radiating menace as a group of people below reacted with startled confusion. A monstrous, three-eyed creature with a gaping maw filled with jagged teeth and a sickly green tongue roared from the depths of a cavern, its cry echoing menacingly. Below, a young man, armed with a simple shovel, froze in shock, his eyes wide with fear as he stared up at the monstrous apparition while the smaller figures lay seemingly unconscious at his feet. A monstrous, three-eyed, orange dragon roared, its gaping maw revealing a swirling vortex of sickly green energy. The terrifying creature was identified as the zombie dragon, an SSS-class boss monster driven by pure vengeful rage. Resurrected by a dark curse, the beast was now a mindless, destructive force, existing solely to unleash its wrath. A figure, caught in a fiery explosion, screamed in agony as they were thrown back by the sheer force of the blast. A terrified figure fled from a monstrous, gaping maw, screaming in despair as they wondered why they were the sole target of the creature's fury. A small, pale creature with spiky blue fins watched with wide, anxious eyes and a grimace of fear, relieved to not be in the fleeing figure's precarious position. With a powerful swing and the shout of treacherous, a figure unleashed a wave of cerulean energy from a glowing, spade-like weapon, scattering shards of light around them. A colossal, mechanized dinosaur head, radiating a vibrant blue energy, loomed above. Recoiling in terror, a skeletal, reddish creature shrieked upwards, its bony arms raised in a futile attempt to ward off the impending doom. Darkness consumed it, a jagged crimson flash the last thing it saw. A monstrous green creature roared, its single red eye gleaming menacingly. Another beast, this one a fiery red with multiple yellow eyes, shrieked in response, its face contorted in a furious grimace. With a delighted cry and tears of joy, a small, teal-finned creature cheered on a golden-crowned figure, urging treacherous into action. A menacing red skeletal beast roared at a small, mechanical crocodile-like contraption hovering before it, observed by worried onlookers. A skeletal, serpentine creature with horns roared at a small, mechanical, helicopter-like device, watched by a shadowy figure and a small, worried ghost. The creature lunged, its attack sending the little device spinning wildly, the sound effect emphasizing the force of the blow. A monstrous, three-eyed, red demon roared, its power shaking the very ground. Overcome by the demon's terrifying aura, a smaller, pale creature confessed their dizziness. Struggling against an unseen force, the small creature found themselves completely paralyzed with fear. A desperate, disembodied spirit wailed for a physical form. Startled by the sudden cry, a young man, clad in simple clothes, sprinted across the barren landscape, a shovel clutched in his hand. The small figure in worker's attire gazed up at the fleeing youth, perplexed, muttering about the impossibility of creating something from nothing. He stopped abruptly, a flicker of realization widening his eyes. A beat of stunned silence hung in the air before a sudden, awestruck gasp escaped his lips, his gaze fixed on a pixelated object adorned with skulls. He whispered, a mix of disbelief and burgeoning excitement, "I can ... A monstrous, multi-eyed creature materialized, its presence announced by a booming make-it. Its bulging eyes radiating an unnerving intensity. A stark red question mark pulsed ominously, suggesting confusion or a sudden, unexpected challenge. A horned, serpentine figure, bathed in brilliant light, unleashed a raw, guttural cry, their power radiating outwards. A piercing screech echoed as a monstrous, Fengma, wreathed in electric blue energy, emerged from the darkness. Someone yelled Pak Bo Wang's name with desperate urgency. A monstrous, skeletal figure with a green, scaled head loomed over a smaller, crimson and blue creature, its glowing eyes fixed on its prey as the smaller one shrieked in apparent terror. Treacherous, a being of immense power, was revealed as the apex predator, his danger level classified as GOAT. A monstrous, crimson figure, skeletal yet muscled, recoiled, screeching Kaya's name in anguish before unleashing a horrifying, guttural roar. A monstrous, mechanical crocodile roared, its red eye gleaming as a blast of energy erupted from its jaws. A dark, ominous symbol flashed, crackling with power, suggesting an impending, devastating attack. A colossal skeletal beast loomed over a smaller, vibrant red creature, its bony tail whipping through the air as the smaller one let out a pained shriek. A monstrous, segmented tail lashed out, flinging a mangled, bleeding creature through the air as a mechanical being with a glowing red eye watched from below. Bound and desperate, the young man with dark hair cried out a name, treacherous. A sharp command, "Finish it," echoed in the air, thick with anticipation. A skeletal, mechanical arm reached towards a radiant orb of light, grasping it with surprising delicacy. The skull mecha appeared, its imposing form rising amidst an explosion of energy. A monstrous, skeletal dragon descended, its glowing red eyes fixated on its target as a searing beam of pure energy erupted from its maw. A blinding flash of golden energy erupted, crackling with power and leaving a trail of shimmering sparks. A gleeful, pale figure watched a powerful armor beam descend, radiating an intense golden light. A group of miners, faces grim and determined, wielding pickaxes, seemed to brace for the impact of the beam's arrival. Bathed in the brilliant light, a young man with spiky, dark hair looked up, a wide, almost manic grin stretching across his face. A pillar of light erupted from a distant volcano, illuminating the figure's polished shoes. A hushed voice confirmed the unbelievable: they had triumphed. The white-haired warrior, sword strapped to his back, stared at the fiery spectacle with wide, disbelieving eyes. A concerned subordinate, their pale face a stark contrast to their dark attire, looked to their master for guidance, an important-looking document clutched in their hand. The master, sharply dressed in a suit and tie, considered the question with a weighty silence. Crushing something in his hand, the man in the suit and tie asked with a sigh of resignation, "Well, what can we do?" With a flick of his wrist and a smirk playing on his lips, the sharp-dressed man declared the contract void, his words hanging in the air before the cloaked figure identified as Assistant Rim. The blond man, sporting an eye patch and a sharp suit, struck a confident pose, a hint of a smirk playing on his lips, as if he held all the cards. With a sinister smirk, the scarred, blond man in the sharp suit confirmed contact, his cruel amusement barely concealed. He then muttered derisively, "The idiot." A dark plume of smoke billowed from the jagged peaks of a rocky mountain, hinting at some unseen power stirring within. A colossal skeletal beast, its head a bizarre fusion of bone and reptilian flesh, emerged from the depths of a rocky chasm, its imposing form dwarfing the small, helmeted figures scattered across the cliffs. A heavy sigh escaped, accompanied by a close-up of a watchful, golden eye, hinting at weariness and a hint of unease. The realization that they were once under the control of such a seemingly unimpressive figure filled them with a wave of shame. A towering, skeletal being, draped in ornate purple robes, stood impassively as a young man in casual attire and a shovel observed the scene. Below them, workers in white helmets diligently chipped away at a giant, unsettling eye, their faces a mixture of awe and disgust. The skeletal figure, crowned in gold, inquired if the young man beside him, clad in a checkered jacket, had found anything, only to receive a disheartened, empty-handed reply. A pale, curious face, marked by a single, dark eye and a hint of light blue, muttered, "That strange that double quotes the creature, its form partially obscured," pondered aloud, convinced there shouldn't be any unknown monsters lurking about. A small, surprised creature voiced its unfamiliarity with the imposing skeletal figure before them. The young man with the pickaxe, squatting nearby, considered the armored skeleton thoughtfully, a contemplative hum escaping his lips. A mysterious figure recounted how a monstrous being suddenly materialized in their mind one day, their tone hinting at both awe and fear as they focused on the creature's menacing presence. Overflowing with gratitude, Minekeeper Kim, his teal beard flowing dramatically, thanked the heroes who'd rescued him, and his miners, his small form almost vibrating with relief. Kim, the Minekeeper, was introduced to a small, horned, green-haired figure. The little figure, with a surprising air of authority, announced himself as King Jisiok. A dark-haired man, his face alight with anticipation, realized it was the perfect opportunity to seek out a dwarf and ask his question. Deep within a dimly lit, cavernous hall, a dwarf adorned with a horned helmet eagerly awaited the savior's query. A figure presented a shovel, asking another if they knew what it was made of. The other person, seemingly surprised, let out an intrigued "Oh." A wizened craftsman, his face obscured by a long, pale beard and quirky green eyebrows, paused his work, a curious hum escaping his lips as if sensing a disturbance. Gripping the shovel's worn handle, the figure muttered about its familiar texture, a hint of anticipation in their voice. His eyes widened, jaw dropping slightly as he stammered in astonishment, fixated on some unseen, curvaceous wonder. The dwarf, gripping his axe, admitted his complete bewilderment. Intrigued by an unknown mineral, the skeletal figure mused aloud, his echoing voice laced with fascination. Announcing his departure, the young man left the skeletal figure and the curious little slime, prompting a hushed farewell from the departing duo of a miner and a Viking. The scene remained unchanged, with the young man, the skeletal figure, and the slime standing still as the miner and Viking continued their trek through the barren landscape. A furious young man, surrounded by a motley crew, aggressively demanded an item from a hidden figure, his face contorted in a ferocious snarl. Someone, presumably trying to de-escalate the situation, pleaded for calm amidst the chaotic scene. A vast army of small, identical figures stood at attention, overseen by two distinct individuals, hinting at a looming conflict. From high above, a young man, clad in light clothing, plunged a shovel into a vibrant, glowing blue square embedded within a crimson, scaled surface. A hand gripping a shovel swung it forcefully, the word "look" echoing a command to witness the impending action. Confident, the young man, tool in hand, declared his crafting prowess, questioning the nature of a strange, pixelated ore. A colossal, blocky, monstrous figure, seemingly conjured by the boy, spewed a torrent of luminous turquoise liquid from its gaping maw, creating a shimmering waterfall into a pool below. A group of workers in hard hats murmured amongst themselves, gazing in awe at a brilliant stream of water cascading into a pool. They collectively exclaimed in amazement at the sight. The miners, awestruck by a magnificent discovery, urged their green-bearded leader to hand it over. The leader, however, firmly refused, much to the shock of a young man observing the scene. The skeletal monarch scoffed, a chilling sound echoing in the desolate landscape, upon learning even the dwarves held no answers. A young man with a shovel, seemingly a miner, looked on with a mixture of frustration and apprehension at the king's daunting question about his next move. A figure in casual clothes, a pickaxe casually slung over his shoulder, Questioned a towering, skeletal being draped in purple robes about the best source of information in this strange new world. The imposing figure, radiating an otherworldly aura, simply uttered, "Information," leaving the questioner hanging in suspense. The bustling starting plaza teemed with new players, a vibrant hub of activity beneath the watchful eyes of winged beings soaring through the bright sky. It was here, in this lively square, that every user's journey began. The young man with the shovel, against a backdrop of what appeared to be a market or bustling square, looked surprised, questioning starting plaza. A young man, clad in simple white shorts and a tank top, stood barefoot in a field, a weathered shovel held firmly in his grasp, his expression unreadable. A puzzled thought lingered. Hadn't it all started somewhere else entirely? A grand, verdant castle loomed in the distance, its bridge stretching towards a sprawling plaza shimmering under a turquoise sky, the scene announced with a gleaming starting plaza sign. A bustling marketplace scene unfolded below. Someone inquired about the arrival of Rim, referred to as an idiot. Another person replied that Rim would join them after completing his quest. A sharply dressed man with a distinctive scar and his companion observed the scene, commenting on Rim's stubborn, independent nature. A startled murmur rippled through the small crowd as the man with striking silver hair and an unnervingly orange face appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, beside the composed figure in a sharp suit and green hair. Someone urgently pointed at a wanted poster detailing a fearsome, flying dinosaur head monster, highlighting its strengths and hefty bounty. A regal figure presented a drawing of a fearsome monster, warning the assembled crowd of its immense power and unusual appearance. A green-haired man with an eye patch, standing among the onlookers, listened intently with a subtle, knowing smirk playing on his lips. Inaction would doom another world, turning it into a desolate wasteland. The blonde, crowned figure, eyes wide with alarm, held up a tattered document, urgently addressing his companions. He rallied them with a passionate cry, urging them to join forces and fight together against the impending threat. News of Yoham's party needing assistance spread through the crowd, sparking murmurs of speculation about the strength of their opposition. A cloaked figure, face framed by a white headdress, looked surprised by the revelation. A man in a sharp suit, a scar marking his face, chuckled softly, a hint of intrigue in his expression. The sharp-dressed man with the eye patch observed the bustling energy around him with a hint of amusement. A sudden sound caught his attention, his expression shifting to mild confusion. Yoahim, a regal figure clad in ornate armor, was startled by a sudden call, his brow furrowing slightly as he responded with a questioning yes. A voice laced with doubt pressed him for confirmation, making him pause over the ancient scroll he held, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. A shadowed figure, cloaked and mysterious, smirked with anticipation, murmuring this should be fun. A tense quiet settled as someone knelt before the figure, their yellow and red attire hinting at subservience. A legion of armored soldiers marched in perfect unison, their footsteps echoing a sense of impending power. Stunned, a small group stared at the approaching army, their expressions shifting from confusion to alarm. One, recognizing the distinct armor pattern, whispered in awe and dread about its significance. The double-headed eagle emblem, gleaming on a regal chest plate, hinted at the presence of royal palace guards. The Divine Guild's banner, adorned with a double-headed eagle, was raised, causing a ripple of excitement and awe amongst the onlookers. Red-clad knights marched imposingly, their heavy steps echoing, causing the onlookers' faces to register surprise. A red cape with a white cross sparked recognition, a symbol of the elite Crossline Guild. The narrator's voice emphasized their prestige as the 10 strongest holy knights. A banner bearing the distinct white cross on a crimson field affirmed their identity. The royal court's strongest magician group, the Holy Land Guild, was introduced with their distinctive banner. Beneath the banner depicting a laughing mask, a group of cloaked figures, their faces mirroring the banner's mirth, boisterously proclaimed their allegiance not to just any thieves' guild, but to the Righteous Thief Guild, with a cry of Walbinden. A lone figure, clad in dark attire, strode confidently down a corridor lined with armored guards, their swords held respectfully at their sides. The air crackled with anticipation, a silent tribute to the figure's power within the strongest guild. A banner bearing the emblem of winged justice, illuminated by the sun, proudly proclaimed the presence of the Justice Guild. A sinister smile played on the elf's lips as she revealed the powerful alliance, 5 guilds united under a single, formidable banner. Beneath the banners of the World Guild Alliance, another world branch, a dark-haired elf with a mischievous grin gestured dramatically, radiating confidence and power. With a confident smirk and a glint in her eye, Ms. Hawk, commander of the World Guild Alliance's another world branch, declared her authority. A dark-haired elf with a spiky crown listened as the adventurers requested guidance to the monster's location. With a dramatic right now, a single finger shot up, silencing the unseen crowd as an unknown character made a decisive point. A low chuckle, Oh ho 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 ho, rumbled, hinting at amusement or perhaps something more sinister. A concerned creature questioned if the dark-haired man was leaving, hovering near the mouth of a shadowy mine entrance adorned with glowing red lights, and received a simple, affirmative reply. The miner, pushing a cart laden with shimmering crystals, announced he needed a break and would meet his companions back at the starting plaza. The barefoot young man, shovel resting against his leg, agreed readily as the small, pale lizard-like creature looked on. A young man questioned if an elderly, bearded guide was truly suitable as miners worked diligently in the background. He expressed concern for the old man, wondering if it was wise for him to leave. The old man chuckled, admitting a fearsome monster had kept him confined for quite some time. The dwarf, his horned helmet gleaming, declared his desire for revelry, causing the pale, smooth-skinned creature beside him to label him a hopeless old man. Startled by a question about the contents of his bag, the horned, green-tinged dwarf clutched it protectively. He confirmed, offering the bag with a slightly apprehensive look. A gloved hand held a sparkling, blue diamondium ore, its facets catching the light. The holder decided to sell this rare gem at the bustling plaza. A young man, perched on a crate, was stunned by a generous offer to receive all the profits from a deal, leaving him bewildered and questioning the unexpected generosity. With a firm handshake, the old man with the green beard expressed his deep gratitude to the younger man for saving them. The younger man, a little surprised but pleased, readily accepted the thanks. A farewell echoed, followed by a decisive tap on the yes button, confirming the logout. Entrusting responsibilities, a voice called out to Pidgeottic, leaving matters in his capable hands. With a cheerful wave and a parting wish for a safe journey, the scene shifted to a bustling backdrop, bathed in a golden light. The young hero, shovel slung over his shoulder, offered a reassuring wave to the grateful crowd, bidding him farewell and thanking him for his bravery. He modestly agreed to take care, a slight smile playing on his lips as he prepared to depart. The crowd's grateful cheers echoed in the cavern, a poignant farewell to their savior. Bathed in a warm, golden light, the young man waved goodbye, a bright, cheerful grin lighting up his face as he promised to see them later. A gamer, still wearing his VR headset, laid back with a satisfied grin, his hand casually raised as the game logged him out. Startled, the young man's eyes widened in surprise, a soft "huh" escaping his lips. He lay in bed in his dimly lit, cluttered room, a book resting on his chest, seemingly having just woken up. A young man in a blue tracksuit stared wide-eyed, his headphones dangling from his hand. He mused that every time he returned, the weight of reality hit him hard, as shown by the cluttered desk overflowing with sticky notes and deadlines. A young man, dressed in blue tracksuit, stirred in his bed, a rumble in his stomach interrupting the quiet of the room. A pregnant silence followed, broken only by his soft groan. His gaze drifted to the instant curry packets on the kitchen counter, a silent acknowledgement of his growing hunger. A figure in a purple hoodie savored a bowl of mixed rice and side dishes, the clinking of utensils against ceramic filling the quiet air. A caption hinted at a weekly game in the next issue. News alerts flashed across a nearby phone screen, announcing updates about Chrono Life Another World. Amidst a buzz about a rare material shortage, a young man diligently worked at his desk, seemingly oblivious to the external commotion, his focus solely on the task at hand, which garnered impressive viewership. Stunned, mid-bite, the young man's eyes widened at the mention of the rare mineral, diamondium. He muttered a confused "huh." The rare diamondium vanished from the market, a digital news report confirming the month-long shortage. Merchants, driven to frenzy by the scarcity, erupted in a riot that inflated the gem's price tenfold. A glowing blue gemstone, held aloft by a shadowy figure, caught the eye of the young man, his face a mixture of surprise and dawning comprehension as he paused mid-spoonful of breakfast. He suddenly realized that the shimmering gem was the very ore an old man had intended to sell. Casually eating, the young man in a blue tracksuit mused about the high cost of diamondium. A staggering 100 million won per kilogram flashed across the panel, followed by a man in a purple suit recoiling in shock, a visible spray of something white erupting from his mouth as if he'd just received a devastating blow. Mid-shave, the young man froze, eyes wide with dawning horror, a strangled "what" escaping his lips. A dwarf, his face obscured by a large, round monocle and a horned helmet, presented a pouch overflowing with dazzling blue crystals, a small, pale creature looking on with wide, awestruck eyes as the price of 100 million echoed in the air. A skeletal figure, its grinning face partially visible, observed the transaction with an unclear intent. Under a cheerful, cloud-dappled sky, a quaint little house stood invitingly, smoke curling from its whimsical chimney, but the impatient observer fumed. Why isn't he coming? The scarred man calmly poured tea, urging Rim to relax, but the white-haired man, worried, noted someone's tardiness, adding that they were traveling together. The cloaked figure, arms spread wide, anxiously questioned the possibility of their awaited guest absence. Seated calmly at the table, the green-haired man confidently reassured him of the guest's imminent arrival. A sinister smirk played on the scarred face of the green-haired man as he sipped his tea, his one good eye gleaming with a predatory light. His hatred for losing surpassed even his fear of death. He was deemed the world's biggest idiot. A scarred man with light hair sipped his drink, a faintly surprised "oh my" escaping his lips. A sinister grin spread across another man's face, a silent challenge in his sharp gaze. The grinning man's voice dripped with mocking disapproval. "Not very gentlemanly, are you?" A group of adventurers, clad in varying degrees of armor, gathered in a bustling marketplace. A sudden surge of energy rippled through the air, centering on a point between them. The world shimmered and a message blazed, connecting another world. A golden, shimmering boot materialized, as if stepping out of thin air, onto the cracked earth. The camera zoomed in, revealing the intricate details of the gleaming greaves, crackling with energy. Finally, the full armor manifested, radiating a powerful, fiery aura. The system declared the fiery-haired figure as rank number 1. Blazing energy crackled around the champion's elaborate headpiece. A sinister grin spread across his face, hinting at a formidable power. A level 10 warrior descended from the heavens, trailed by shimmering golden energy, their arrival heralded by a vibrant explosion of light. Amidst a backdrop of urban structures and shimmering, ethereal light, a formidable figure clad in gold and crimson armor materialized, his fiery hair blazing like a corona, proclaiming his return. A quaint little shop with a whimsical chimney stood bathed in sunlight, a silent witness to the green-haired individual's quiet remark, "It's been a while." The scarred, green-haired man with the messenger bag leaned forward, a sly smile playing on his lips as he revealed his impressive rank, a level 10 warrior. A figure with vibrant red hair and golden horns, seemingly startled by the news, reacted with a sharp, surprised gasp. A scarred man with slicked-back green hair sat calmly at a desk, a subtle air of menace surrounding him. The perspective shifted dramatically, focusing on the back of a formidable figure clad in ornate gold armor, their vibrant red hair cascading down like flames. With a chilling laugh, the green-haired man addressed the armored being as Heart-Eater, a hint of mockery in his tone. A fiery-haired figure adorned with a golden, gem-encrusted headpiece grinned menacingly as he taunted someone about their supposed demise, calling them zombie dragon. The crimson-haired warrior, clad in ornate gold armor, smirked with chilling confidence, dismissing the idea of someone else handling his foe. It would simply be too much of a waste of a good fight for the top-ranked level 10 warrior. A figure in flamboyant gold armor sat stiffly, radiating awkward energy as another, more plainly dressed, poured him tea, while a green-haired observer watched with a mixture of amusement and bewilderment. News arrived that he had seized the Nelvin mine. The armored figure, perched precariously on a chair, flailed wildly while another recoiled dramatically. Frustrated, the green-haired man pleaded for someone to just hear him out. With a smug grin, the red-haired figures sipped their hot drink, their nonchalant "so what?" dripping with defiance. A menacing figure in gleaming gold armor, with a shock of crimson hair, pondered aloud the elimination of an unseen foe, a sinister glint in his eyes. Amidst boisterous laughter, a warrior in gold armor crashed to the ground, his face contorted in a grimace as he gasped, "Hot." While the figures watched from the sidelines, the scarred man in the suit slid a paper across the table, announcing it as a new request. The paper landed squarely on the face of the flamboyant warrior in gold armor, who let out a muffled chuckle. The command was given to find the one responsible. A grim-faced man with fiery red hair and a golden crown fragment reacted with wide-eyed shock to the news of the Nelvin mine seizure. The takeover extended its ominous reach to the Dark Highland, deepening the mystery. The red-haired warrior gazed with a mix of bewilderment and dawning understanding at the cheerful image of a brown-haired youth held before him, a pregnant pause hanging in the air. Miners toiled away, extracting glowing blue crystals under the watchful eye of a cloaked figure. A sudden bright flash filled the mine, startling the workers. One miner, holding a water bottle, reacted with surprise as the light subsided. Bathed in a brilliant light, the young man materialized, his sudden return surprising the onlookers. A figure, bathed in ethereal light, declared, "Let's go." Their destination, the starting plaza. With a surge of energy, a young man in a gold jacket pointed forward, his face alight with determination, leading the charge towards the plaza as his companions followed. A sleepy wizard, clutching a black cat plushie, was caught off guard by someone's quick return, claiming he was just about to nap. Another figure in a sunny yellow sleep outfit trailed behind him. The newcomer, sporting a shocked expression, questioned whether the wizard's starry pajamas were indeed suitable nap attire. A young man anxiously inquired about the diamondium's safety, his voice filled with concern for his elder. The old wizard, clutching a satchel, reassured him that the precious gem was secure. With a relieved and enthusiastic cry, the youth acknowledged the good news. A frantic voice urged everyone to hurry, threatening to leave stragglers behind. A towering, skeletal beast loomed over smaller figures, one of whom mumbled sleepily amidst the chaos. A small, anxious creature questioned the sudden rush, its voice filled with confusion. A dimly lit mine entrance, marked by flickering red lights, hinted at something sinister. The masked figure wondered aloud if they were truly fit to guard such a place. Standing stoic, the gold-crowned guardians seemed to settle into their duty, a silent acceptance echoing in the cavern. The imposing skeletal figure deemed the young man beside him the perfect candidate. He explained that this strategically vital location required a strong and intelligent guardian. Flattered by the compliment, the young man expressed his pleasure at being chosen. The masked figure, adorned with a golden crown, leaned in, inquiring about the recent diamondium price fluctuations, causing the young man to react with a startled and exasperated groan. A helmeted dwarf presented gleaming diamondium, his companions and a curious, pale creature looking on, while another's knowing laughter echoed through the cavern. The masked figure mused on the mine's proximity to Dark Highland, acknowledging the rarity of the discovered gems. The young man, arms crossed, insisted on safer transport, while the imposing, crowned figure loomed behind him, adding that security would indeed be crucial. Gazing upon a skeletal, reptilian monstrosity, someone voiced a need for robust transportation. The young man with the shovel eyed the creature, repeating the word sturdy with a hint of disbelief. A skeletal behemoth, crowned with bone and radiating ancient power, towered over the lone figure who watched it with a mixture of awe and trepidation, his simple weapon seeming pathetically small. A monstrous, mechanical crocodile-headed vehicle roared to life, its red eyes glowing menacingly as someone inside urged, "Let's go." Unfazed by the bizarre situation, the young man in the checkered shirt casually suggested detaching ahead, dismissing any worry with a light-hearted tone. A small, startled creature reacted with shocked disbelief at the revelation that the head in question was, indeed, detachable. A dark-haired young man, face bright with excitement, marveled at the speed of a wheeled contraption. He gleefully addressed someone named treacherous, clearly pleased with the fast-paced ride. A small, green, crocodile-like figure zoomed across the ground, desperately pleading for the return of its body. A pale, worried-looking creature with tiny arms and legs observed the scene in stunned silence. With a swift, confident gesture, a hand clad in purplish fabric unleashed a burst of brilliant energy. An arrow sliced through the air, its sharp point aimed with deadly precision, the whoosh of its passage echoing ominously. A blinding flash of light erupted, engulfing a grotesque creature with a single red eye, sending it reeling back in stunned shock. Startled, the man in the tank top looked up in disbelief, a small, strange creature spitting fire above him, his expression a mixture of shock and confusion. A lone warrior, armed with a bow, stood poised on a precipice overlooking their assembled troops, a boisterous laugh echoing under the vast, cloud-strewn sky. With a predatory grin, the dark-haired elf, bow-drawn taut, taunted her unseen target, a playful Kaiyu, hanging in the air. A menacing, monstrous vehicle, with sharp teeth and glowing red eyes loomed large, its presence emphasized by the vast open area and towering rock formation in the background, a voice echoing a chilling declaration of encirclement. With a wicked gleam in her eye and a mischievous "Then let's begin," the dark-haired archer, clad in scant armor, notched a dynamite-tipped arrow to her bowstring, the fuse sparking ominously. With a predatory smirk, the elven archer drew her bowstring taut, her eyes gleaming with a dangerous thrill as she unleashed a full-powered attack. A flare burst brilliantly in the desert sky, its light momentarily illuminating a strange, skull-faced vehicle speeding across the sand. The cloaked figure turned, seemingly alerted by the signal flare, their attention drawn to the approaching vehicle. A signal was given, sparking anticipation. The redhead, with a sinister grin, found the situation thrilling. Beneath banners proclaiming a new alliance, a fiery-haired warrior, clad in gold and brown armor, grinned with fierce determination, his grip tightening on a dark staff, eager to prove their superiority. The Divine Guild's another world branch master, a redhead with a predatory grin, gripped his dark staff, a hint of menace in his stance. A scarred face peered down, a cruel smirk twisting their lips as they mocked the appearance of their foe. With a disturbingly cheerful tone, the warrior declared their intention to claim the monster's eyeballs as a trophy. A blonde, battle-ready figure brandished a gleaming sword, their maniacal grin and blood-red markings mirroring the carnage surrounding them. Master Suyang of the Cross Guild's another world branch was introduced with an air of authority. A lone figure with vibrant pink hair and a golden staff soared through the sky, surrounded by a menacing swarm of dark cloaked figures, their pointed hats like ominous shadows against the bright heavens. A fleet of sorcerers, cloaked in purple and wielding staves, soared through the sky, their banners bearing a stark, cruciform symbol. Below, a young mage with vibrant purple hair and a stern expression watched their aerial display, muttering about pointless tasks. The young mage, clad in a purple and white ensemble, gripped their ornate golden staff, a subtle air of authority surrounding them as their title and affiliation were revealed. Master Babidi Babidi Bu of the Holy Land Guild's Another World branch. Master Gyung of the Walbending Guild's Another World branch stood proudly, a wide, almost mischievous grin on his aged face, his tattered robes hinting at a life of both wisdom and hardship. Mid-leap, a warrior clad in blue commanded the troops to hold their positions, her voice ringing with authority. With a maniacal ho-ho-ho, the dark-haired warrior charged into the fray, her glowing weapon raised high above her head, a whirlwind of chaotic energy against the backdrop of advancing armored figures. The Justice Guild, Another World branch, under the command of Master Mishawk, prepared to face the World Guild Alliance under a vast, cloud-filled sky. With a roar that echoed across the battlefield, a monstrous, mechanical crocodile-like war machine surged forward, leading a vast, multi-bannered army into a ferocious charge. A puzzled young man, dressed in a quilted jacket, peered through a window, suspicion etched on his face as he wondered about the identity of the strangers outside. A surprise attack was launched, leaving the young man with wide, disbelieving eyes amidst a vibrant, chaotic backdrop. He ordered to fire the mecha beam, his expression a mixture of shock and determination. A blinding flash of energy erupted from the monstrous jaws, obliterating everything in its path. With a manic grin, the elf-like figure declared, "Here it comes," and reached out a hand as if to grasp the unfolding event. Driven by exhilaration, they commanded the activation of Plan A, their voice laced with the thrill of anticipation. A blinding flash of energy erupted, engulfing the scene in a fiery maelstrom of power as cries of exertion echoed through the air. A surprised onlooker noted with disbelief that their opponent had narrowly avoided a devastating blow from a monstrous, mechanized beast. A blond warrior leaped over his comrade, a warning cry echoing behind him as he charged towards an unseen enemy. A battle cry followed, urging pursuit of the foe. With a dismissive scoff, the mauve-haired figure realized some of the intel was accurate, their monocle glinting as they focused on a figure in the background. The focus shifted entirely to that background character, Yeoman, causing the mauve-haired person's expression to sharpen with a mix of surprise and suspicion. A furious, crowned figure roared, "You monster!" his face contorted with rage. Below him, a smaller, similarly adorned warrior launched himself into the air, sword raised in a defiant attack. With a furious cry of "This is revenge," the cloaked warrior, his blonde hair flying, swung his weapon with a powerful, vengeance-fueled arc. A warrior, clad in gold and wielding a sword, braced himself against an unseen, powerful red force, his defiance evident despite the overwhelming odds. A close-up revealed the warrior's face, etched with fierce determination and wide-eyed shock as he faced the imminent threat. A figure, cloaked in shadows and radiating a menacing aura, recoiled in apparent fear from a looming presence. The man in the foreground, face contorted in a grimace of intense exertion or anger, threw his hands up defensively as if bracing for an impact. A startled gasp escaped the crowned figure as a young man in shorts dramatically burst from a portal, scattering dust and debris. Below, a crowd of armored and cloaked figures reacted with a collective, authoritative cough, their weapons raised. Stunned, the elven woman stammered in disbelief, a witch soaring overhead. A cloaked figure cackled, clearly amused by her shock, as soldiers watched from behind. The question hung in the air: was she truly a user? His face contorted in a mask of pure fury, eyes blazing with a dangerous light as he spat the accusation, "These thieves." With a fierce grin and determined eyes, the young man in shorts and a loose shirt launched a powerful high kick, the force of his movement creating a visible ripple in the air. A swooshing sound emphasized the power of his kick, leaving a brief moment of silence before the ominous words "the diamondium" appeared. A colossal mechanical foot stomped down towards a small armored vehicle, its driver defiant in the face of the impending crush. With a furious yell of jet kick, the small boy launched a powerful kick, his face contorted in fierce determination. A colossal stone fist slammed down, scattering smaller figures like leaves in a gale, one screaming in terror as they fell. Chaos erupted as figures clashed in midair, a whirlwind of motion and magic. The red-haired warrior, amidst the fray, reacted with stunned disbelief to a strange utterance. He demanded clarification about the diamondium, utterly perplexed by the mention of this unknown element. A cloaked figure questioned the relevance of something, seemingly unconcerned, while a startled, purple-haired woman reacted with a shocked "What?" The old mage, face creased with exertion, declared the initial blows had already been traded. The old mage, face creased with intensity, declared there was no reason needed, his voice echoing with an unshakable certainty. The redhead's intense stare conveyed a silent challenge, a bead of sweat trickling down his temple. The scarred face mirrored the intensity, eyes wide with shock and a grim smile playing on his lips, confirming a chilling truth. The monocle-wearing figure adjusted their eyewear, a glint of sharp interest in their crimson eye. A masked face, partly hidden by flowing fabric, contorted in a knowing smirk. With a predatory grin, the sharp-eared individual declared their target an enemy. Startled, the young man in the checkered jacket gripped a small gardening tool, a look of disbelief twisting his features. A figure in dark cloak and pink attire, weapon in hand, is flung back against a backdrop of a glowing red magical circle as a menacing voice warns, "Prepare yourself." A chaotic battle unfolded as a figure in white and purple robes fell backwards, fiery energy radiating from their hands, while a warrior in red charged forward, sword raised. Below, a vehicle designed with a fearsome, camouflaged, reptilian head loomed menacingly, its large wheels tilting precariously close to the combatants. His eyes widened, a fierce determination hardening his features as he prepared to unleash the first sword style. A fierce warrior with a braided ponytail plunged downwards, her shields shattering amidst the chaotic freefall of countless bodies and broken weapons, their descent marked by streaks of unsettling red. With a sinister grin and blazing crimson hair, the warrior in gold armor unleashed a devastating moonlight flash attack. A fiery-haired figure with a sharp grin and golden armor loomed large, radiating power. A small, startled creature and an older man with a horned helmet gaped in apparent disbelief at the imposing warrior. Their shock mirrored in the wide-eyed, open-mouthed expression of a young man with dark hair who seemed to shout in surprise. A voice called out, questioning if the fiery-haired, gold-clad figure was indeed Shovel. The dark-haired man, with a look of intrigue and perhaps challenge, then wondered aloud if this was the one who had taken control of the mine. A defiant young man, armed with a simple shovel, faced a formidable, armored giant, seemingly unfazed by the creature's imposing presence. With a dramatic pause, the air thickened with anticipation as he prepared to act. He swung the shovel with surprising force, striking a decisive blow. The attack was clearly aimed at more than just the giant, as the words "dear customer" hung heavy in the air, suggesting a deeper meaning behind the assault.